So apparently it's all up to me. We're going live, guys. Let's
All right.
mother.
This is where we make music noises.
Right. Because I don't know where the music is, but let's see if we can figure this out. Damn it.
Because once isn't enough.
That's right.
You are no
Twice.
Patrick.
Not at all. I have no practice at this.
Double-fisted that intro. Double-fisted it.
Completely.
Okay.
Complete by rectifier.
Before we go off the rails, because we will. And
No.
before we, and by we I mean me, says something really stupid, I do want to say, and anyone out there, that we're going to start off and raise our glass for our friend Kevin, and Mama Rose passed away. This is the Mama Rose, having some Tennessee whiskey in her honor. A life well lived, definitely well loved, and she sure as hell is missed by her family and friends. So to you, Carol, Kevin, and your family, cheers.
Absolutely. Love you guys. And there's shot number 1 of Absinthe down. This is going to go well.
All right. So welcome to My Whiskey Den. And we're kicking off Alan Bishop month, let alone
Oh my
Alan
God.
Bishop Day. So
Alan Bishop month. Yeah. No, Jolie right now is having a mild heart attack. Like
probably so.
Right.
You should start acting like those ladies that wear yoga pants and they have to celebrate birthday month. It's like, nope, it's my birthday month.
It's all about me for the next month, except I'm not allowed to do that because my wife's birthday is in October. And so if I claim any part of that first half of October, listen, I know where my bread gets buttered at, guys. I'm not looking to get cut off on that ordeal. Right. It just, I can't do it. Like, I mean, if you guys want to start like Alan Bishop week, or well, let's do this. Why have one holiday when you can have 2 holidays, right? So Alan Bishop Day is all about absinthe and Oreos. And we had discussed another challenge previously. And unfortunately, because McDonald's marketing department sucks, we couldn't do it this month. But we can expand International Alan Bishop Day to fall as at least, a 2-week celebration until at least, the very beginning of November, when we can then introduce the Malort and McRib challenge. Right?
I think it's a damn good idea.
2 things that you don't want in your mouth on their own, and you definitely don't want them in your mouth together. Right? Just like barbecue absinthe.
So we got it's a 12-day celebration, 11 nights, 12 days, starting on October 20th, ending at November 1st.
I like it.
Appropriately,
it's
All Souls Day.
This is like Black Friday, except it's Black Monday. We're just kind of previewing Christmas a little bit. So we're previewing Alan Bishop Day a little bit.
Yes.
It's really very much, this upcoming holiday is really a lot like the Hagen White Trash Trailer Park version of Christmas, right? And it all starts with absinthe and Oreos.
Yeah.
Right. And then viral posting to Jolie's Facebook page and Instagram, with annoying pictures of myself. And you end it with the Malort and McRib challenge, just to bring you back to reality, November 1st, right? That just brings everything right back down.
I feel like somewhere in there we should have like a box of chicken and a biscuit and some squeezed cheese, and do something like.
Got to have a Casey's Taco Pizza in there is what you got to have.
With some Slim Jim bits or something like that.
Oh, that
man!
Now you got me excited, Mike. Now I'm excited. Now I'm sold on my own holiday at this point.
The fat guy is talking the right language there.
Right.
Yeah.
I do have to ask the Uncle Alan thing.
Yeah.
Because maybe I missed a cultural meme somewhere in there. But if somebody could explain it, and maybe I was involved in that conversation, I was drunk. I don't remember. Like, I vaguely remember you guys asking me to do this because I was super drunk when you did ask. So what's the story with Uncle Alan?
Well, it's Uncle Buck.
Mm-hmm.
The John Candy movie. So
yeah,
we just threw your face on there and called it Uncle Alan.
we happen to throw out like, learning with Uncle Alan. It's like, well, who's a better uncle than Uncle Buck? You got Uncle Alan and Uncle Buck, for God's sakes.
I'm telling you guys, I don't understand why every craft bar in the United States isn't serving absinthe and Oreos. It just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Right. That's also the official sacrament. You know, I won't come visit your mommy if you don't leave me absinthe and Oreos. So
that's right. That's right, Reg.
Hey. Oh, we're gonna start with that already. So
yeah, unfortunately. All right.
I can't see any comments, so I have no idea what's happening. I don't really care, especially if it's Jolie. She's just stupid anyway. So
yeah, absinthe and Oreos is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I'm damn near done with the Death in the Afternoon.
Good one. It's a good one.
I'm gonna have that afterwards with it.
It's almost like the guy that put that together and then the guy that actually distilled it. Those two guys, it's almost like they knew what the fuck they were doing or something, right?
Maybe.
Who knows?
There's a little bit of
maybe they got some other kind of project coming out, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's a amethyst absinthe coming out. So purple coloration, not at all a traditional thing. Super cool though. Done with maize morado corn as the coloring agent, which is pretty unique and also provides an interesting sort of starchy structural thing to the background. And then I believe there's a Le Bleu style down the road coming as well. So
sweet.
Cool stuff.
Okay.
Looking forward
and
to that.
Isn't that supposed to be coming up like in the next month? Like November, December?
I mean, it should be on Alan Bishop Day, but
it should be.
Well, as all things.
If you're going to release it, if you're going to release it on any day.
Surely to God, there's like a Jim Martin rep somewhere in the stream or in the feed, right? That can like throw in with it's coming out this day, right? Because I don't know. Key West doesn't work on the same time as the rest of us, right? I mean, Key West is just an island of assholes like me. It's a whole island of assholes like me, right? They don't work by conventional date and time, right? They've got like 16 months in their year and 42 hours in their day. Mm-hmm. So I'm not entirely sure when it is getting released.
I guess whenever they climb down off that damn light tower.
It's a long pee.
Quit pissing in the wind.
Pee. Right? Right? There's a Hemingway joke about six-toed cats in there somewhere. If you really want to win the National Alan Bishop Day Award, and I'm in no way encouraging this, although I will laugh at the news story when someone does it, you got to really climb over the Hemingway house fence and steal a six-toed cat, hold the cat wall pissing off the light tower. If you throw up the shocker, that's 5 extra bonus points. I don't know towards what, but you'll win something. Probably trip.
So it'd be like a Splash Mountain. They need to put a trail cam out there to catch everybody doing it.
I think when you do that,
it will increase tourism so fucking much. People will literally drive to Florida if you let them do that, right? And it becomes a thing. You could even have like a rent a cat program at the Hemingway house. I mean, that's a great way to promote historic preservation, right? You just have a box built into the fence. You put the cat in the box. You drop $5 in. You can rent the cat for however long it takes you to climb up the light tower and piss off of it. Get your picture. Bring the cat back. Put it back in the box. Next customer comes along. Bam.
I think it's if you get things exactly in the right order and do it just perfect, it's like a magic combination. You automatically get teleported to Alan's front porch.
With the Mario Brothers theme plays when it happens to it makes a noise where you go down the little portal, or it maybe it's like the I actually feel like that only works if you play the Legend of Zelda theme while you're doing all the things we just previously discussed.
That's exactly it. Yep.
So, all right, I want to start off for the uninitiated, for the non-followers, the uninitiated, and maybe a few non-believers around here. Tell us about your fascination with absinthe, how that started, and what your history is and what your future is with absinthe.
Wow, that's a good one. So, in the immortal words of Mike Stallings, I like to party. No, As a distiller, absinthe has always interested me because it's sort of, in many ways, it's kind of a next level thing. I think a lot of distillers are initially hesitant if they've never made an absinthe to actually try to make an absinthe. You start getting into literature, you read it, the concepts might be a little more complex, even though it is a pretty traditional spirit than what most normal pot still distillation is. And so it tends to scare people off because it's not even. A lot of people will equate absinthe distillation with gin distillation or aquavit distillation, and they're not as similar as what you might tend to think that they are. My interest in it obviously starts with, more of the folklore sort of thing. I think same way most people got introduced to it, right, through romanticism of the Victorian age and all of that stuff. And there's some mysticism associated with it, and how much of that is real, how much of it is bullshit. But then digging more into the history and finding out how absinthe was really developed to some extent, and it really existed before it was called absinthe in multiple different places throughout the world. But what we know as absinthe now, coming out of the Val de Traverse, it even further interested me once I started to go down the rabbit hole, because there's a real connection to sort of a twofold thing. Traditional chemists / alchemists / distillers, learning from the school in Salerno, Italy, passing that information down throughout Europe. And then this other sort of less talked about thing, this other idea of like granny women or folk healers and people making tinctures. And those two unique concepts kind of came together to really create absinthe. To me, that's super exciting. That's like all the dorky agrarian / occultic / distiller stuff. It's all in one subject, and it's tied up very much so with the conversation about health, the politics of its time, the politics of, the late Victorian age, the ban on absinthe, right. the whole way the wine industry tried to destroy absinthe for everyone, and very well succeeded for a very long time. So all those roads kind of come together for me with the absinthe, and all those things are, they're inspiring, I guess, right? Like every time, absinthe is that one spirit that every time I think I've gotten to some sort of plateau, and by far, guys, there's guys that know way more about absinthe than I ever will. Obviously, Ted Bro, Jade Liquors, as far as I'm concerned, that's the man. There's another guy out there, JL Garza, who's done a lot of absinthe distillations and really knows what he's doing. Another guy by the name of Ron Rupert. But for me, I think I like it because I do struggle with it a little bit, right? It wasn't easy for me to learn how to make an absinthe, and every time I think I'm done with it, I've gotten to like some plateau. I'm like, what happens if you do this, right? So what happens if you highline distill a peach brandy and use a peach distillate as a base for an absinthe? Right. Why the hell wouldn't you try it? And then what botanicals do you use that actually, let that peach brandy also sing in the mixture? So not that that's necessarily going to happen, but those are the kind of things that excite me as a distiller. I like those things that kind of challenge my thinking. And then take that to the next level, which drives my wife crazy, which is, all right, I think I know what botanicals I'm going to use. Now, how many of those can I grow in the yard, right? Yeah. How many of these can I dry down on our porch? How much more room can I take up in our house to be able to make these experiments in the future practical to do something with? And then you sort of find out at some point, right, that even if you can do it, doesn't mean it's practical from a commercial perspective. So, but as long as you learn something, that's all that matters.
So what are there? I know it's not as strict, but are there rules people should follow when they're making absinthe?
So there's not really an outlay of rules per se. For example, with the TTB or anybody like that. Now, I'm not real clear on that when it comes to what's happening in France or the Swiss Alps. For me, I think absinthe is one of those categories too that can be and should be Americanized, and you're starting to see a little bit more of that now. There's starting to be some more producers, and I'm not anywhere near the traditionalists that some of these guys can be. I mean, when you get into the absinthe culture, if you guys think some of the bourbon snobs are bourbon snobs, some of these absinthe guys will burn down your house, right? Legitimately. So as long as you stick to the holy trinity of the three main botanicals, I think really the sky's the limit. I mean, there's nothing that says that you can't use any particular base for absinthe, right? Whatever you wanted to. And certainly in the Val, right, the main fermentable they had at the time was sugar beet And I'm sure that they used it. I'm sure that, later on or even concurrent with that, they were importing a lot of brandy base from out of France and who knows what grapes, probably a little bit of whatever they could get a hold of. Here in the United States, here actually in southern Indiana, Switzerland County, there were two absinthe producers in the 1830s that Brian Cushing and I from Locust Grove and Victorian Barroom studied pretty heavily, and we're pretty well convinced that they were actually using corn-based whiskey because even though they were growing Catawba grapes at the time, they would have been too valuable to them as wine material to ever use as a base for an absinthe. So the most common logical answer is that they were basically making a corn whiskey or a bourbon type base to make absinthe out of, probably with a little bit of wheat and a little bit of malt, because wheat would have been more common at that time than rye would have been in the area. But I think there's a lot you can do with absinthe. I think that there's no reason to limit yourself to. I mean, the conversation's still pretty young, and it's a pretty unique product. There's not a whole lot of people doing it, but I don't know why any distiller, this is true of bourbon too, why any distiller would put another distiller's product on the table and say, I want to make it that way. Exactly. I want it to taste like that. Right. You're wasting your time, right? Because there's already somebody there in that category. That market is well served and probably served well because somebody that's in the market to make absinthe. If they're going to make an absinthe, they're going to put the time into the marketing and pushing that out there to drinkers, right? So, yeah, I'm not real picky on it. As long as it falls into that category, if you can taste it and you can recognize that taste as absinthe, there's no reason why you shouldn't do it. And Stephen Osborne of New York is doing some really cool stuff. Stout Ridge Winery and Distillery. He's done several really interesting absinthes. I've had a number of absinthes sent to me by home distillers using botanicals that are not at all traditional. Some stuff that sort of verges on a hybrid in between aquavit and absinthe, which I think is actually pretty interesting. So, yeah, whatever you want to do, right? I mean, just make good stuff. Don't poison anybody.
Obviously. So, yeah, where do you see where besides just the base spirit and obviously experimenting with different botanicals, where else do you see potentially craft and artisan distillers taking absinthe and Americanizing it to a degree? What does that mean for you?
Chocolate absinthe. Why not? Right?
Okay.
Do a chocolate cherry absinthe. That'd be sexy. Right? Any of those cool flavors that can contrast with one another. And the further outside the box they are, I think maybe even like regional stuff, right? So let's take, we mentioned the whole thing with Southern Indiana and the corn base. But if you were, say, in Louisiana has a long history with absinthe, obviously, being home New Orleans, and there were absinthe distilleries there. Absinthe grew out of an absinthe product. One of their major crops is rice, right? So if I was a distiller in New Orleans and I wanted to make an absinthe, or in Louisiana in general, I might make a rice base, right? And what does that do? What does that do to the distillate? What also then goes along with that, right? Use a floral rice, and that's one of the earliest tricks that most home distillers play around with is basmati rice, because we all have this idea of what the aroma is going to do. All right, well, now we know that aroma. What goes well with it? Maybe some rose petals. Why wouldn't you, right? And then that plays into the botanical thing, the tincture history, the medicinal history, those fun rose water tones playing off of that basmati rice background. It's all about whatever's around you. Here in Southern Indiana, one of the other things, or even Ohio, wherever, really anywhere in the U.S., I'd imagine, might be cool to play with honeysuckle, right? Throw a little honeysuckle into a vapor bath and see what that does to it. Or tagettes, marigolds. There's an interesting flavor that comes out of marigolds. You can grow them in your garden. They're very easy to grow. Hell, you got a little crack in the sidewalk at the distillery. Throw some tagette seeds down and let them grow. You got something pretty throughout the summer, and then you go out and harvest them. Hey, let's make a little batch of absinthe, even if it's just for the tasting bar, and throw this in there. And there's a unique spin on it, right? I do think that, like all things in the United States, you run the risk of taking it a little bit too far into a sweet spirit direction, right? Because there's plenty of anise bombs out there when it comes to absinthe, and that's the flavor that people tend to think of. But I'll be honest with you, I like my absinthes with a little bit more wormwood character. I like that bitter character, and of course you have to be more careful with that in the U.S. because the regulations on the amount of thujone, etc. But there are other varieties of that same family that you can throw in there and get that same bittering effect, right? And sort of level that thing out where it doesn't become an anise bomb.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a little more balanced, a little more complex. To me, a little more interesting. To me, a lot of the absinthes that are out there that lean to that sweet side, like if you put sugar in them, there's no way I could drink them. I couldn't. It's not my thing. So
I was gonna say, getting almost like pastis to a degree.
Yeah.
Too much
pastis,
so.
the younger, dumber sister of absinthe that includes the hangover.
Right.
So you're talking about wormwood, and I know you know way more about this than I do, but wormwood it's not common, correct? And you can't get it, you can't grow it everywhere. But like to establish some of that, to have it, so if you were going to make absinthe, what would it take for you to establish that so you could have wormwood in your other botanicals? I mean, is it easy to have that available to yourself to grow it? How much time does it take to do it?
So grand wormwood's actually not that hard to grow. It's pretty easy to grow. It's also seriously super invasive, which, that's a different conversation. But to me, that's actually a plus, right? Because once I have it growing, I'm always going to have it growing. It's always going to be there, right? It seems to do well for us here in Southern Indiana. We have pretty high heat, pretty high humidity. There's a really good grower down in Virginia that also produces quite a bit of wormwood. I've talked to several guys that do grow it, even some down in Louisiana, ironically. So it's not hard. Now, it doesn't. The only time ours has struggled is you'll get up into August and after the flowering cycle, you cut everything back. The old growth does. It looks pretty crappy for. It looks pretty crappy for a couple of days, but once you get into September, the temperature starts coming down, and it comes back around. The harder thing to grow is Petite Wormwood, which is a traditional coloring agent, right? And it's also a very sort of fruity, aromatic sort of characteristic that to me you absolutely have to have in a Verde app. This is great.
Penny's singing in the background, and we got Eli.
See, celebrating National Allen Bishop Day. You've trained them well. You trained them
well.
All
right, let's take them off.
Yep, exactly. I'm just waiting. You never know with that kid what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
Right.
Petite Wormwood though is a little harder to grow. I've not had a ton of success with it. We ordered a bunch of plants last year, and we got them through the winter. I think we started with like 8 or 9 plants, and I think 3 of them lived.
Okay.
They should theoretically hold up to cold weather. I don't know exactly what their problem is, other than maybe they were getting adapted to this place. Now, we do have them in the garden now. They are growing. The chickens kind of done a number on them a few times, that they seem to be coming back out of that. They really did not like the summer heat at all. I mean, they looked like they were dead, and I thought for sure they were done. And I went out the other day, and they have brand new growth on them. So I feel like if I can get them through this year, I'll be okay, right? Just getting them established. I think there'll always be something like if you take them somewhere else to go plant them and start them, it may take a little more time and a little more effort. But once you have them, and it's just like with anything else, you're just selecting for what does well for you. And then hopefully you can continue to have it do well for you. But that one's the one that's hard to find. Legitimately, there's only one producer of Petite Wormwood in the United States, and he does not produce a whole lot of it. If you're going to buy it in, you're probably going to have to buy it out of France from Calio Herbs or somewhere like that, which Bill Hockett's done a lot of work with.
Okay.
The terroir affects those plants greatly, too. In no way, shape, or form would, for example, grand wormwood here in Southern Indiana resemble what would be grown traditionally in France or in the Val de Traverse. And even in the Val, a lot of the producers use a combination of wild wormwood as well as cultivated wormwood, because even though they're grown in the same places, they have 2 totally different flavors. So
okay. So in dealing with Petite Wormwood, I know that's important, especially with doing a Verde or a green style of absinthe. Does it play any other important role with absinthe?
Yeah, it's a very aromatic sort of plant. So that green coloration, I actually suspect, started off more than likely as sort of a marketing sort of thing. Bearing in mind that absinthe would have originally been a tincture or an extract, so it would have been green anyways. It would have been what people were familiar with. What I suspect happened over time with figuring out what botanicals would fall well where, either in distillation or post-distillation maceration. I have not myself seen Petite Wormwood in in distillation. It's always been in maceration.
Okay.
And my suspicion with that, and I think Stephen Osborne would back this up as well, is because the aromatic component works well to bring everything together that has gone into the distillate itself, in the same way that lemon balm and hyssop in particular work very well in the coloration step, because it's sort of the glue that helps bind all those things together. Whereas if you have a Le Bleu absinthe, can be very well made, and I actually prefer Le Bleus a lot of times. That kind of rounder, fattier, more really decadent experience relies very heavily on those coloring botanicals and the aromatic compounds that they use as kind of, again, a glue to bring the whole package together.
Okay. So hitting on some of that between distillation and maceration, break down, especially for some of the people that are the nerds out here that are fans, what are some of the different production aspects in making absinthe, how you're approaching that?
So when I talk about the tincturing aspect, for example, and even back in the Belle Epoque and before Belle Epoque, the stuff before Belle Epoque is what really interests me, right? Especially going right back to the 1750s, 1760s, when absinthe really becomes more of a drink of leisure as opposed to a tincture. But when you look into the production of absinthe, you'll see a lot of things that resemble tincture making. One of the examples that you'll see is often they're calling for high proof ethanol for maceration at 170 proof, 160 to 170 proof, right? That's pretty typical of tincture strength ethanol, and in a way to draw out the medicinal properties of the plants, right? You will occasionally see something similar to that in gin, but it's not nearly as common. The other thing that you'll see is that there are recommended temperatures a lot of times for extracting those compounds from those plants that you're now macerating. And so what you'll do is you will take your ethanol, whatever your base is, and take it up to about 140 degrees, which is kind of an interesting number, 135 to 140, because it's one of those numbers that on a copper still, you can still touch the still for a second or two, right? You don't have to have a thermometer. This is kind of interesting. Right. It's all sensory. So you can put your hand on the still for a second or two before it really starts to, hurt a little bit, right? But you're not going to hurt yourself. You're getting a little bit of that pain from the heat building up. So you get your alcohol to that temperature and then use that alcohol to macerate those botanicals. Now, the other tincturing aspect is that in traditional absinthe production, when you look at the amount of botanicals being used, you're almost doing a solid state distillation, right? I mean, we're talking crazy amounts of botanicals going into this. Sometimes, upwards of 100 plus grams per gallon of wormwood, 250 grams per gallon of anise and fennel. You're literally dealing with as many solids as you are liquid, actually basically a 1-to-1 in a lot of the production methodology. That is definitely unique compared to most gin or aquavit or even those early aquavitae recipes that came out of Ireland, etc. It is a huge amount of botanicals, and it's needed. You have to have that. You really do to get the true structure of a traditional absinthe. Now, if you're doing something different, like when we did the Spirits of French Lick Le Bleu, this was about half that much botanicals, and the rationale behind that is you're in the Midwest, right? People, maybe you get 1 person out of 10 that actually likes that anise or what they identify as black licorice flavor. So if you're going to get them into absinthe, you got to start them with a light style absinthe. And that's very much what we did, is try to create a light style of absinthe that was maybe a little more palatable to a wider audience of people who are used to coming in and drinking, very sweet red wines, right? So once you get that step done with maceration, you're looking at, it's ideal to be able to macerate those botanicals at that 140 degree mark for about an hour or so, and then let them set for at least 24 hours. Although you can also cold macerate. And ironically, when we did the prototyping for the Locust Grove absinthe that we based on what was happening at Musée des Vinoges in Switzerland County, Indiana, Brian and I actually cold macerated that, because I suspect that that's exactly what they're doing. These guys are primarily farmers. They probably didn't have a whole lot of time to play around with some of the more advanced methods, and they were probably just trying to make a palatable spirit for the time and place where they were at. So it does make two totally different products, 100% different from each other. as far as what gets extracted. Also, those proofs that we talked about. If you extract at a lower proof, you're extracting different compounds from those botanicals than you would be at a higher proof, and they do make two totally different spirits. Usually after that, you perform your final distillation. One of the really neat things about absinthe is there are so many oils in the matrix. So many botanical oils have been extracted into this distillation, and you have to distill with either a false bottom still or with heavy agitation, or like a Bon Marie, something of that nature. Otherwise, you're going to scorch the hell out of those botanicals, not have anything useful. But once you get your distillation up and running, you might remove a little bit off the front, just to make sure you have a good clean distillate. You've already taken the stuff presumably through a double pot still distillation, so you should have already made heads and tails cuts. It's always worth it to make a small cut at the beginning on that third distillation. Not so much more to remove foreshots, but those botanicals, when they first start distilling, nothing is balanced. There's some odd oils that come off early on, and it's always worthwhile to throw those off the distillate. And then what you'll find is you'll get to a point at, say, 120 proof, which is pretty high to cut on anything on a pot still, unless you're making single malt. Sometimes will be cut pretty high. When you get to 120 proof, you'll start to find some of those interesting vegetal characters, and really start to cut into your tails there. But you have two different fractions of tails with absinthe. So you have your initial tails. Okay. Now back in the day, they would save these, and these might run from, say, 120 proof down to 80 proof. They would save these, and they would use those tails. They'd re-rectify them, or they would use them directly as they were to make more of an inferior consumer grade of absinthe, right? This is kind of where you get your superiors and your ordinaires and, that sort of thing. They're literally different grades of alcohol made with, or different grades of absinthe made with different parts of alcohol. At some point, usually around 80 proof, the oil is so heavy in that absinthe that it starts to fall out of suspension, and you literally get blanquette, which it just turns white, just like a louche, just like you've louched an absinthe. It turns that color. That stuff is super important. Not everybody would agree. There are producers that don't reuse that. Some people think that that's too much oil, or that it's all flavored oil. I have found that for me and my taste, that's absolutely needed, especially with higher proportions of wormwood, where I want to hold on to that bitterness. You're going to collect all that blanquette, set it away in a container, fill it all the way up to the top. You don't want air to get to it because it is a lower proof. You could get some BA out of it eventually. And that's going to go into the next absinthe that you make. And that's going to provide you with a shit ton more oil, a ton more flavor, a lot more mouthfeel. And to me, it's absolutely one of the major trade secrets of absinthe is collecting and reusing that blanquette.
Okay.
So, and then from there with your coloration, I know I'm getting wordy with all this stuff, but with your coloration, you're going to basically split your distillate into two parts, basically 50% that you're not going to color, 50% that you are going to color. The 50% you're going to color, you're going to make it a tea, like a maceration, just like we talked about with the initial pre-distillation maceration. Get your color out of that, filter all that stuff back out, and add that to your other white absinthe to give it its coloration. A lot of times too, these guys back in the Belle Epoque, we talked about those lower grades of absinthe in particular. They would actually have equipment on hand where they could take the spent botanicals that came out of the still and the spent botanicals that came out of the coloration phase and extract the existing alcohol back out of those to use for those lower grades of absinthe as well.
Nice. That's a fantastic breakdown.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Going on there. Yeah, no, thank you.
That's really cool. I want to get another breakdown from you. It's not just because we love the silky, sultry sound of your voice, but we do.
Those Marlboro Lights really do it for me.
All right, because I'm drinking this, and because you had some involvement in this, can you talk about this? About what the? I heard someone say one premise of it, which I don't think was 100% true. What started, but can you just talk about what got you involved in this? What and how did it come about?
Yeah, and I won't. The marketing side of it, I have nothing to do with, other than I think that Jim's artwork is the guy that he gets to do that stuff is fucking amazing. So on the technical side of things, I got to know Jim a couple years ago down in Key West. He does interesting things. He comes from a family. I got to move these Oreos. My dog's about to get up here and grab them. Anyways, he does. He has a really interesting history of moonshining in his family out of Kentucky. Just kind of a fascinating character and excellent marketer at what he does. And really, I mean, incredibly smart to set up, an NDP basically, which he's completely fine with. He did all the shitty moonshine work at home when he was a kid. He doesn't want to be producing it himself anymore. He wants to have high concept ideas and market those ideas. And to do that in Key West is just brilliant in a lot of ways. So we started talking there, and initially I think he had wanted to bring some of our absinthe in, and we couldn't really get anything going there from Spirits of French Lick. So he decided that he wanted to make an absinthe, and he wanted to make it as legit as what it could be, to where, it would resemble very closely something that Hemingway would have been familiar with. Hemingway, of course, having lived in Key West for a long time. The research we did, Hemingway, and there are absinthe snobs and Hemingway snobs that'll get pissed when I say this, so they can get over it because they just haven't done the research. Hemingway was not that selective when it came to what he drank as absinthe, guys. He may not have liked all of it, and some of it might have been trashy, but Hemingway himself, a little trashy. All right. So it just is what it is. Now, he had his preferences for sure. So our goal was to make something that would have resembled an absinthe that he may have been familiar with from pre-ban. Of course, he was drinking after the ban, but he could still get vintage stuff, right? Or he even wrote a lot about drinking bootlegged absinthe from different places, right? Now, a lot of those absinthe producers, especially if he was getting anything out of the Val de Traverse, that ban didn't mean shit to them. The cops overlooked that stuff big time, right? Unless you were doing something real stupid, it was such a part of their culture that those guys kept right on producing, all the way to the extent there is a very famous absinthe producer from the Swiss Alps who was a famous moonshiner. And the way that he got his license, start distilling absinthe legally, once the ban was lifted, was he could prove that he bought every drop of alcohol that he ever used for absinthe production from the pharmacy. So he'd paid taxes on every bit of it the whole time. They couldn't hold that against him, right? So Jim knew me, I knew him. He wanted to do this the right way. And in the famous words of Jack Begledoux, and this is Jim here, but I only knew one motherfucker that was crazy enough to try to do it, right? So write me a check. I'm in. I've been researching this for a while. I want to take my absinthe making to the next level. I'm more than happy to help you. I consider Jim a great friend and, again, a good marketer. And he wanted to do this legit, as close as he could get it to a pre-ban absinthe and something that Hemingway would have recognized as that. So
nice. I do want to go back a question a little back, jumping back for a moment. About the Locust Grove absinthe. I did actually get to sample that with Brian Cushing here a while back, and it was pretty damn fantastic, honestly. Really enjoyed that. So,
yeah, I don't know when that's coming out. I need to touch base with Brian. It is finished. It's a very, very limited run. I think we might have pulled 4 gallons total out of that. Right. By the time we made our cuts were very selective with the whiskey itself. I mean, we very severely and harshly eliminated heads and tails and did not rerun those and kept it as clean as we could. Took it up to a slightly higher distillation than traditional pot still. So I ran a Pistorius lens on that to raise the proof a little bit, which was kind of a cool experience. It's ready to roll for all intents and purposes. I think they still have to get a label going. And then figure out how they're going to sell that and how it's going to be marketed. Of course, that money will all go to help fund Locust Grove and the farm distillery program and all of that stuff. So it's always worthwhile. And one of those things that I don't mind at all to spend time and effort on. And it was really cool too, because we got to actually harvested the yeast from Musée de Vinoge in Switzerland County, which would have been associated with the absinthe at the time, the culture that was there, the Swiss colony that was there making wine. And we actually were able to harvest botanicals there from Vinoge, including some grand wormwood and some hyssop. And then the vast majority of the rest of the botanicals actually were harvested from Locust Grove by their gardener. I'm blanking on her name. I think Sarah is her first name, I think. I apologize if I've gotten that wrong. But just some fantastic, nice local botanicals that became a real part of that. And Kentucky Artisan, of course, did the initial stripping distillation because we're not allowed to distill at Locust Grove. So
right.
And then we finished it at Spirits of French Lick.
I know Amy was in here earlier, so she may be able to jump in and kind of give us an update on where that's at a little bit. So
yeah,
if she can, that'd be great. We'll post it up there for everybody to check out. Question I have for you, this is kind of starting to shift a little bit, and just the season we're in, the time we're at. It's October. Everybody's got certain things on their mind, but I'm curious about some of the more spiritual and esoteric side of absinthe distillation and some of the history that goes along there. If you would like to dive into that, feel free to go right ahead.
Sure. Now, there will be some history here, but some of it's just going to be my own philosophic bullshit. I'll just fucking warn everybody up front. So anybody that's familiar with me knows that I'm at least 95% bullshit. So the other 5% is just piss and vinegar, really. So with the history aspect of it, of course, there were those two sides I talked about. There's the chemist, which descended from Salerno, Italy, the alchemy thing, all of that stuff. Then the other side of absinthe historically is, again, these sort of granny women, these faith healers, right? These folk healers, people who didn't necessarily know how to distill, but had this long tradition maybe of using alcohol to extract botanicals, whether that be through aromatized winemaking or through beer brewing. Legitimately what you would now think of stereotypically as witches, European witches, right? That's really, and that's where the politics comes into it at the time. The church comes into play, trying to keep these women under control. Absinthe as a healing tincture was primarily female driven. And in fact, the Henriade sisters likely struck the deal that they did with Dr. Ordinaire or even with some of the other early producers, because I don't think it was not one family of women that was doing it. It was a lot. It was very widespread. And it wasn't just there. It was literally everywhere. You can find distillates from 100 years before absinthe becomes a thing that very much so resemble absinthe. Anyways, they had to kind of let the men take over that because they weren't ever going to be allowed to market these things, right? They had to pretend to be the good wives that were part of the church and that were faithful and this and that and the other. I suspect that some of the botanical additions traditionally used in absinthe, some of those botanicals do have their own psychotropic effects. Now, I will clear up pretty quickly that alpha-thujone is not a hallucinogen. In high enough levels, it will cause you to have seizures, right? But you're never going to get there drinking absinthe ever. It's not ever going to happen. But there are some mild psychotropic effects that happen with some of the other botanicals in there, as well as digestive effects, etc. And those are all related to that folk medicine. But more than that, there's some ritual magic that was hidden in there as well, right? Alcohol, just like any other mind-altering substance, traditionally has been a key, right? It's been a way to open a door to some other realm that you need to get to, and you can go too far with that, obviously. But something that takes you out of your current situation, and with absinthe in particular, there is, again, because of psychotropic effects, there's a clarity that comes with absinthe and with drinking absinthe that you do not get from other alcohols. And there'd be people that hear this and think that that's bullshit. And I challenge you, sit down and drink an equivalent amount of absinthe and an equivalent amount of bourbon, and then try to write an article. Because you're going to notice that there's a big difference in the way that your brain is working on absinthe versus the way your brain is working on bourbon. All right.
Well, I can go ahead and say, I'll just go ahead and testify to that. You and I sat on your porch when I was up there with you and went through about 24 different samples of absinthe in an evening. And if that had been whiskey, I'd probably been on the floor puking my guts out. And we
destroyed an absinthe library, and it was fantastic.
It was
and I felt fine the next morning. There was no problem, right? So there are ritual uses there, right? There's also, you're making use of these botanicals that the earth has given you, and you've had to go out of your way to either go out into the wild and to gather these things, or to very purposefully maintain these seeds and these strains, to keep them where you want them and how you want them. And so there's a little more than an agrarian connection there, right? Because these are all functional herbs and botanicals. These weren't just going to be used for your absinthe. These are going to be used for your tinctures. They're going to be used for your ceremonies, those sorts of things. So that's kind of the occult side of things, and to some degree, greater or lesser. I'll go with all of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All of that for sure. I listen to a lot of Pink Floyd when I drink absinthe, actually. And the Cure, the greatest absinthe song of all time. I'll just go ahead and call it out. It's A Short-Term Effect by the Cure, right? And it's it's both the atmospherics of the song and it's
Mhm.
also the message of the song. You know, the absinthe is a short-term effect. Again, it's that door opening. It's that gateway into the next realm and into the things you can't access by your normal conscious self. So,
well, I mean, even going back a little further historically with absinthe and just the use of wormwood, getting into well, there you go, Fascination Street. Heck yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, as far as I've dug and can see, Egypt is like one of the first places we see the use of wormwood.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if you know Egyptian history, you know their religion, you know it would have been tied with whatever spells, incantations, whatever they're going to do, because how much that was just a part of their whole culture and a part of everything, medicine and all that, gets adopted by the Greeks. I think there was potentially, I believe, some use of wormwood mixing with wine and some other things in certain groups within Greek culture that was used in ceremony. And so you could see that use of medicinal, but also that religious aspect getting tied in. And I imagine would have been carried all up through Europe, you know, with
and
with
grand wormwood is also antiviral. So this is kind of an interesting thing. This ties into both the occult and to modern science, right? So isn't it funny to people? And I know my wife is into this, you know, as am I, and we have been for a long time. But isn't it funny that a lot of the things that were used for smudging houses of evil spirits tended to be antivirals? And wormwood certainly would have been one of those things that you would have commonly used to smudge a house in Europe. It dries down. It's very aromatic. It actually, when it burns, it has a slightly sweet, fruity sort of aroma to it. It's not displeasant at all. I like it better than sage. Sage is what people commonly smudge their homes with. Sage, ironically, is also full of alpha-thujone. There's more alpha-thujone in sage than there is in wormwood. Wormwood to me is less offensive if you use it to smudge a house of evil spirits or you know, whatever you're smudging your house for, than what sage is. Sage is one of those things where I'm like, all right, it's cool, but it smells fucking terrible. I just can't do, like, Kim smudges the house with sage. I'm outside. And I'm staying out there until it's out. Right? Maybe it's because I'm the evil spirit. Who knows?
Well, I mean, and I'm just sitting here, I guess, I don't know, starting to put some pieces together, but you're looking at wormwood with all of that component. It's proven to be helpful with malaria.
There's also been
malaria, which you look at Egypt being along the Nile, obviously that's an issue. And
there's been a ton of recent research out of France too, using it to treat COVID, which is pretty interesting. So, well, and I'm going to throw this out there, and this is another one of those things that in no way nothing said on this show represents anyone I work for or any organization, blah, 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 blah. Let's get that out in the fucking open. Short of the parts I use to actually promote those organizations. So I'll just say this is an observation, because TTB is not comfortable with talking about alcohol and medicine. They're just not. But let's look at the number of times that a lot of people in our circle have been out in public in the past 18 months. Okay. And have been exposed, myself included, to people around COVID and didn't end up getting it, right? Even before, you know, vaccine, whatever people think about that, I don't care one way or the other. All right. I am willing to bet that 10 out of 10 times, a lot of those people were drinking some absinthe, right?
Yeah.
There could be something there. Now, correlation and causation are not the same, but it is an interesting observation, to say the least. There were certainly times that I was around people that were sick, and I was drinking absinthe, and I should have gotten it and didn't. That doesn't mean anything. It's just an interesting observation. So,
okay, I'm actually kind of with you on that. Really, I mean, it's been interesting, just personal observations and things, not making any scientific claims, whatever. But you know, so a couple questions that have come up in the chat I want to get to. One from Kent Mace for Alan. Does he still have a 5-gallon barrel of his early absinthe that has the letter K marked on the barrel?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, sir. And I had forgotten about that until you just brought it up. But yes, I do. I probably need to check on that at some point, as a matter of fact.
And then we've got this one from Ben Homan. Joined late, maybe already has been answered, but what's the proper way of drinking absinthe? I have a bottle somewhere. I think it has maybe one pour out of it. So I'm pretty
agnostic when it comes to how people like to drink, whatever they like to drink. One way, now, if I catch you drinking a highball, usually I'll make fun of you, but usually your last name's also Henderson. So just throwing that out there. So the traditional method of drinking absinthe is to louche the absinthe with cold water, and that may or may not include a sugar cube. And the idea here is that what you're doing is you're basically diluting the alcohol. So absinthe, if you think about it, it's usually bottled at a very high strength, 120, 130, 140, sometimes even higher. It's an extract. And again, that goes back to those tincturing roots, right? It's an extract. It's meant to have water added to it. It's meant to go a little longer that way. It's meant to be served as almost a dosage, right? And that's even how it was served, as a dosage, right? The idea that there's a certain proper dose of absinthe, which is to dilute it with water, which does a couple of different things for it. When you add the cold water to it, you're shocking those molecules. Those oils are expressing, they're dropping out of suspension. They're turning the liquid to an opalescent sort of color. And contrary to popular belief, it wasn't very popular to have a dark white, milk white absinthe in the Victorian era. You wanted opalescence, meaning that it actually had a little transparency to it, where you could actually see through it. It was actually a sign of an absinthe that probably had undergone some fuckery if it went completely milky white, right? Somebody probably cheated a little bit to get that color. Anyways, the long and short of it is you would typically serve it with, 1 part absinthe, 3 to 4 parts cold water. Oftentimes, that water would be used to melt a sugar cube over top of a Pontellier glass and out of an absinthe fountain, or before that from a sort of a vase sort of thing. I don't typically, I think for anybody that's new to absinthe, the sugar thing's probably a good idea. But once you really start to understand absinthe and you understand the complexities and you find the style of absinthe that you like, and don't just try one absinthe and not try anything else, right?
Right.
Try several different absinthes, because even amongst like the Jade line, they're all distinct and they're all very, very different. You go from something very, very sweet to something a little more earthy, and play around with it. But eventually you'll get to where you'll probably avoid the sugar. I've gotten to that point. Right. I don't want the sugar in the absinthe. I want to taste the absinthe. And if it's a well-made absinthe, it should be balanced enough that it doesn't need that sugar whatsoever. So that would be the traditional way. Now, absinthe, and Cushing knows much more about this than I ever will. Victorian barroom. So it was a classic, cocktail ingredient for a very, very long time, and tons of cocktails abound about it. I don't even really care if you want to light your absinthe sugar cube on fire. It's not a traditional thing, and it probably ruins the absinthe. But if that's what you're into, fucking go ahead and have a dumpster fire on the bar in front of you. I don't care one way or the other. That's your thing, as long as you like it. And I'll throw out this too. Absinthe is really interesting, again, in highballs. There are a lot of flavor components used in absinthe that are very, very similar to those flavor components used in root beer. And it's interesting to me that a lot of people who don't like black licorice, as they perceive anise to be, tend to like root beer, right? And so throw an ounce of absinthe into an 8-ounce glass of root beer, and hell, throw some ice cream in there. Be a full-on fat kid, right? Make it a root beer float. It's what we call an Allen wrench. So,
all right. So
coming from Brian right there.
Nice.
And you talking about two things. One, the music you listen to and your influences. Two, the right way to drink it. I want to talk about this, why you made it, why you named it what you named it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a take on the Spirits of French Lick Le Bleu. The original lighter style, Le Bleu style absinthe we did for Spirits of French Lick, and it's literally the exact same distillate. And what I did is I went into a new oak barrel because I was curious. When I was at Copper and Kings, we did some barrel maturation with absinthe, but it was always used barrels, right? It was always either a rye barrel or a bourbon barrel, whatever. And those were cool things. We did do Serbian juniper barrel one time, which was interesting, but also, by my estimation, completely fucking undrinkable. So, of course, it didn't matter. The marketing team got a hold of it, and it was going out the door one way or the other. So, I highly don't suggest anyone ever use a Serbian juniper barrel for fucking anything distilled. So I wanted to see what happened if you put new oak in there, right? So you've already got some sweetness from that absinthe, but can you get some of those tannins from the oak? Can you also pair up, because we use a number 2 char medium toast, so we get a little more lignin content. You get a little more like toasted coconut, toasted hazelnut sort of thing. And I started thinking, man, those would be interesting for a dessert style absinthe, right? Like a dessert wine and a hybrid, a very Americanized absinthe, where, you know, bourbon drinkers, they're not into absinthe. Absinthe drinkers, they're not typically into bourbon. But is there a place in the road where they can meet and sort of have an understanding and maybe be more interested about that other product? And so that was the easy way to get there. And then to have it be an absinthe that I'm not looking for you to loose. You can if you want to, but there's no reason to. I think that was bottled at 106 proof, and that's where I intended to be at. Throw a couple of ice cubes in there, right, and drink it just on the rocks right after a good meal, right, and it replaces a dessert wine. It almost to me has almost like a sherry sort of characteristic to it in a lot of ways. That makes it work. So the Fascination Street thing. Again, the cure, as far as I'm concerned, and Peter Murphy, probably more stereotypically, Peter Murphy probably fits most people's ideas of what absinthe should be, I suspect. But for me, the Cure's music really, especially those more goth, sort of half goth, half pop songs that they were doing, you know, Disintegration, Pornography era, and even the Head on the Door. But there's a line in Fascination Street, so Fascination Street being my fascination with absinthe. There's a line in there that I think very much so represents absinthe, and it's the line about waiting on you to kick the last nail in, you know, and that's kind of what absinthe is. Again, that opening the door and maybe you went just a little bit too far, right? That's waiting on you to kick the last nail in. And so that's an eminently drinkable, no need to loosh, no need to go through any fancy ceremony absinthe. And I've certainly kicked a few nails in with that one, not going to lie.
So I would say my first experience with absinthe was probably like a lot of people with other high alcohol stuff. It was, this is high alcohol. I'm going to have a lot of fun right now. and stupid things were said, and I don't know what was done. But as I've gotten older and coming back and trying it, and obviously, you know, being able to get this from you, I'd have to say with the like Death in the Afternoon, it's nice. It's nice to share with somebody. It's nice to go and let it go. You know, let the little rocker do its thing, you know, while we have a conversation. It's kind of the whole point. We're just having an event with us. But when I drink this, it's all about me. It's like, I'm going to have this and I'm going to have a conversation with myself, and you're not invited. and I'm okay with it. And I mean, it's just like, we're, you know, it's all inner dialogue 100% while I'm having this. And, that, you know, like having that bridge for a whiskey drinker, I 100% get that. But there's that, the sweetness that it gets from that oak. I mean, I really, really like that. I wish there was a lot more of this out there, but I enjoy it quite a bit.
There's another batch coming. And I will tell you this, the next batch is super interesting because that batch was interesting because it seemed to me like the botanical oils got pulled back just a little bit by the oak. This next batch has done the exact opposite thing. The oak has almost magnified those botanical oils, but it's also changed them. They've esterified in a way that I didn't expect them to. And it's a lot richer. But I agree with you. To me, that particular bottle is me trying to work through some bullshit if I sat down and drank it, right? And it's not always right. Not always necessarily a positive thing. Sometimes, again, that door gets open a little bit too wide. And the spinoff product of that was the right way, which for me was like, I don't know, like if you compared it to music, and again, you know, I'll play off of that. That would be my dark psych pop album, right? That would be fucking 100 Days, right, by The Cure. Like, you know, the opening line, "It doesn't matter if we all die." This is that's what that was, which was literally the rye finished in that absinthe barrel that absinthe came out of. So
yeah, no, it's I and not kiss, you know, I never kiss your ass. I'm not kissing your ass. It is really good that I'll give you $5. But what I do like about this is unlike drinking, unlike having a bourbon or you know, a higher proof bourbon, it is you equate it to opening a door. It's actually a slow opening. It's like, we're going to sit here and we're going to enter into this slowly. We're going to have our time. We're going to do what we need to do. When the time is up, the time is up. There's no ill effects from it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's fun of it too. There should be some reverence, trepidation, and danger around absinthe, right? Like no matter how much that spirit, and especially what's in that bottle, because it's such an odd thing compared to what's out there. No matter how much people try to demystify absinthe, there always needs to be some mystery to it. And I think there always will be. I missed that comment. What was that?
That was Brian Cushing said tailoring into absinthe is happening within the month.
Nice.
And if anybody familiar with Brian Cushing with the Victorian Barroom, he makes his own clothing from Victorian period. So he's talented in multi levels.
Also looks a little bit like Jack White. I love you, Brian.
If we can get Amy on the drums.
Yes. I'm here for that, guys. I got absinthe and Oreos. I'll watch that show.
Jack White with the tan.
True. And a badass.
And I like Jack White. I like Jack White.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Fascination Street's been fun for me. I've used that to try to help introduce a lot of whiskey drinkers into absinthe. And the fun part about it is, as much as they enjoyed it, once I introduced them to like your LeBlue or a different type of absinthe, they enjoyed that even more.
Good.
It was like,
yeah, and that's
heck yeah, I'm all in on this, and that's
exactly what it should be. It should be that door opener for that conversation to happen, right? Because what I find funny is the bourbon drinkers who don't like absinthe, right? But they like those high rye mash bills, particularly from MTP, which can have a little of that anise thing going on, right? Yep. So do you really not like anise, or do you just have this perception of what you believe that it is, and you're overlooking what that actual flavor is, right? Or again, if you like root beer, there's really no logical reason why you wouldn't like absinthe. It's just a more extreme flavor version of that, right? It's just a more concentrated version of those same sorts of flavors.
Yeah. So is there a weird, funky style of absinthe you'd like to make? Like something just so out there that people, it would just blow people's minds.
That amethyst for me so far, and there's two versions of that. I'll say this, and Jim knows this. Jim has one version. There's another version that a little later down the line will come out somewhere else. The version that will come out later on down the line, I'm really excited about that in general, just because that purple coloration, using that purple maize Murado corn to give that coloration and also pull some of that starchiness out of it. You're not cooking the corn or anything, right? You're just literally macerating the raw starchy corn, which is super cool. But the second version of that was literally like all the roots, all the earthy stuff, all the weird earthy funk that you could put in there, right? Plus a shit ton of marigolds, which I talked about earlier, and a couple of other things that typically wouldn't have been used in absinthe distillation, including a little bit of ginseng. Again, all the roots, right? And that funk is definitely there. Subsequently, you had to pull the wormwood back just a little bit and push, instead of the anise, I pushed the fennel to the forefront. The ginseng is not in the version that Jim has, by the way, just to point that out for people, for anybody that's looking for that. But a lot of the other roots are. But you had to push that anise a little further forward to sort of or the fennel a little further forward to sort of balance that fun, savory, rooty, earthy, root cellar, musky funk sort of thing that was happening, right? I also mentioned earlier, the idea of using a peach or something like that, right? So one that really interests me is a lot of times absinthe was traditionally brandy based, great brandy based, because it's what was available as a commodity, whether you were in the Vale or you were in France, one way or the other. So if you want to really Americanize absinthe, use some American grapes, and I think the ones that would interest me the most would be the ones that are the more funky ones. So Catawba should make a fantastic absinthe. I know Muscat makes a fantastic absinthe because that's what we use at Copper and Kings, but that Catawba has that same sort of floral terpene sort of driven thing. I'm also incredibly interested in what some of those very funky muscadine grapes would do to an absinthe in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's something, I don't know how well red grapes typically, a lot of times, especially the American varietals, they don't distill the best in the world. Now, I've never distilled muscadine before, but I have distilled Concord, which is the worst idea in the world. It just comes off like the cheapest, nastiest bubble gum you've ever tasted in your life, right? But maybe something like a Scuppernong grape would be interesting. One of the bronze muscadine varieties, something a little more floral. So,
mm-hmm.
And if anybody out there is listening and actually does that or comes across one of those before I ever get around to doing it, please send it to me. I see that evil laugh too, you assholes. I know exactly what you're thinking. I know exactly what's going through y'all's fucking head. And you know what? You're probably not wrong. There's probably an email being fired off right the fuck now. And I hope that email just starts off with "fuck this guy" and his National Alan Bishop Day shit.
So for the uninitiated, Alan Bishop Day, October 20th. I'm sure it's already on everybody's calendar. It should be automatically populating like every other national holiday that comes up.
Should be.
But at National Alan Bishop Day, which
international now. International.
Right, international. Yep. It honestly it started off, I wouldn't say as a joke, but just kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but completely and totally blew up in a matter of a couple of hours. So much to Jolie's stomach discomfort, and it has completely blown up, and I think it's just going to happen every year until eternity ends, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
But,
I'm actually working right now with a gentleman who you may be aware of, and Red doesn't know this, who may or may not be involved in both the manufacture of electric vehicles and space faring.
Oh.
And so by this time next year, we're going for Intergalactic National Alan Bishop Day. And it's just going to be my face and this shirt and the shocker on an even bigger dick rocket than the one you saw this past year. Right? It's going to be amazing.
I thought it'd be a shocker shaped rocket.
That's even better.
Not the most aerodynamic, but certainly the flashiest.
Right. It lands pinky down. Right.
Let's go. Just think bigger. Why can't that be the shape for the next space station that goes up?
Hey, listen, he's got money.
As it goes, lit up and just in the right orbit. So as it rolls through the sky, people can see it.
Or maybe there's two space stations, and you imagine it docking.
Shocker scissors. There we go.
Yes.
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 See, we give the warning in the beginning that it's going to go downhill.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but International Alan Bishop Day is also International I don't fucking appreciate Larry Bird or John Mellencamp Day.
I thought that was every day.
Well, it is. It just the hatred grows particularly on that day because I'm absorbing the energy of people's souls, just torturing Jolie by putting memes on her page the day of National Alan Bishop Day. Not encouraging anybody to actually do that. Just saying that if you did, I'd probably feed off of it just a little bit.
Right. If between 11:59 on October 19th and 11:59 on October 20th p.m., if people were to tag you with different memes like that, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No. Yeah. No. I mean, it wouldn't hurt my feelings any, and Jolie would walk it off in a day or two,
make sure you tag Jolie.
It's actually kind of a funny story. When the first National Alan Bishop Day happened, and it started off as a joke again. And by the way, I didn't write this fucking joke, just so people know I'm not that fucking pretentious. Somebody else started this shit, and I just grabbed it and ran with it and turned it into a thing. And so that day, that morning, as soon as I saw it, we just blasted the internet, right? And like you said, it took off. Right. And I tried to call Jolie that morning because we were working together at the time, and she didn't answer because she's lazy. And then later she called me or I called her back and she finally answered and she's like, "What are you laughing about?" And I'm like, "Have you been on the internet yet?" And she goes, "No." And I'm like, "Call me back when you get on the internet." Right. And so she gets off the phone. Not even like 3 minutes later, she calls and she goes, "What the fuck did you do?"
That was a great
looking like this and being this guy. That's it.
Well, I mean, there's at least 30 or 100 Jolie days of the year. So I mean, just giving you one international day, it's not too much to ask. No,
and anytime you're in the room with Jolie, right? She's clearly the loudest, so it's her day, right? I mean, it just, you could never get lost in a crowd with Jolie as long as she's talking.
Or even I say that lovingly. Even a chat room, even a chat. The chat.
Oh, I'm sure she's fucking losing her shit.
Oh yeah, she's got several comments going on, right? But she loves it, and we love you dearly.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. I love Jolie like a sister. Sister I never wanted. That, I would have hoped that my parents drowned, but I do love her.
I will throw this out. Absolutely shameless plug for my other show with Kevin and Drew, Bourbon Turntable. We will have Alan Bishop live with us on Alan Bishop Day, talking all things music and Alan Bishop and whatever the hell we want to. So be sure to tune in and join us.
And the first show you guys have in November, we should have a little 3 minutes Malort and McRib segment. I'll hop on and we'll suffer through this together as a family.
Greatest combination ever.
It's going to be bad. What's going to suck is if it's really fucking good, right? It's just going to be
right.
Okay, I just thought of this. The period from the start of International Alan Bishop Day to the culmination where it ends up in McRib and Malort, is that Alan Bishop Advent?
Fuck yes.
We need Alan Bishop Advent calendars, but what are we going to have like each day? I mean, it's going to have like day 2 is squeezed cheese. Day 3 has got to be, some kind of jerky. We got to figure this out and make kits to send out to everybody.
Turtle jerky in there for sure.
Oh man.
What we do since we can't do the actual Malort and McRib like in the Advent calendar, what we could do is maybe we can reach out to a confectioner and they can come up with some kind of candy that approximates the McRib and Malort combination. We'll just call it shark candy.
Put out like guidelines. Here's your guidelines of what you need to have each day, and then it's up to each person to go and
they got to provide it themselves. Yes, yeah, that's even fucking better because see now we're building the economy. Now we're doing some shit for the U.S. Right now Alan Bishop Day has become a charitable organization almost in many ways.
It's like Small Business Saturday.
There's got to be a song of the day that you play with whatever you're having from the Advent calendar.
Oh,
I fucking hate Kid Rock, but you know what? Malort and fucking McRib Day is for sure a fucking Kid Rock song.
I'm gonna say both. I cannot stand him, but yeah, it's got to be some of the newer Kid Rock.
Right. Or an ICP song. There you go. You can throw that in there too.
Oh God.
Maybe some. You want to get really white trashy? You go fucking Die Antwerp, right? That's where you go next, right? Just. Even for me, just looking at the video going, I don't know what in the fuck is
right.
I thought I was fucked.
Adina mentioned cheese balls. You know what? We need to have a cheese balls cocktail during Alan Bishop Advent.
If there's one
person who could come up with that, it would be Adina.
I'm all about it.
Cheesy poof Manhattan or something like that.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Malort ice cream. There's a fucking winner. There's a winner.
Jesus.
Right. Also, I would just like to point out to everybody, every time somebody does say, and I came up with it, but every time somebody actually says Malort and McRib, I fight the urge to vomit in my mouth a little bit. And I'm not sure which of the two actually grosses me out the worst. Right. No, there's it's just burning tire and gelatinous meat substance.
But like you said, there's a chance. There's at least a 50% chance it could be pretty darn good.
I'm telling you, the sweetness of the barbecue sauce or monkey blood that they use, as it were, possibly. Who knows what that substance really is? And the Malort, it may work the same way that the fucking anise and the wormwood does. Who knows? We may be in for a surprise here. We really might.
I have had a Malort cocktail that was actually pretty decent, and I would drink it again if somebody made it for me. So the reality that you could mix some Malort and McRib and actually something come out pretty good. It's there. The probability is there. The percentages, I don't know. But
yeah, and the other side of that is
you kind of like two negatives make a positive. You know,
you might want to take bets on who pukes first. Is the other side of that, right? Like maybe we just go ahead and prepare for that, and we have DJ Henderson on here, you know, and you go first, bud.
Is this our first version of Jackass?
I would say that
we're going to eat McRibs and drink Malort to see who pukes first.
Okay.
And then,
is there going to be a little?
Do we get to throw rotten eggs at him or something? Whoever.
Oh God!
Is there going to be a little person?
Of course, Mike would ask this question.
Patrick's involved for sure.
I didn't want to call him out by name.
Well, I mean, it's not like people don't know. I mean, for sure, his mailman has seen some weird stuff come through. You know, just
why all the plain packages, Patrick?
Right. Also, who actually has shit delivered to them via DHL?
Yeah. There's only two choices when all your packages say Adam and Eve. You're either biblical or you're in a porn.
Yes, right. Also, why is there an air tube sticking out of this one? It's making breathing noises. It's very strange.
This one sounds like a sick goat.
You're actually the first person I've ever delivered an entire truckload of entire UPS truckload full of cages to. Seemed odd. You have a lot of pets.
Now, this comment here is like the opposite of Hot Ones. I do recall having a conversation with Hunter from Three Boys about getting a bunch of us together and some distillers and having like a version of Hot Ones. And the only thing we were allowed to drink to wash it down was White Dog straight from the still.
You know,
next time in Kentucky,
I feel you need to have the show needs to go on because you got to stay on for at least another 30 minutes afterwards to make sure everybody keeps it down.
Right.
I love you, Hunter. I will volunteer to be sort of the host of that show and remove myself from the equation because I've been the unfortunate victim of your shenanigans enough times now that I've learned my lesson and I prefer not to puke in a church parking lot again.
All I know is the hot sauce will be provided by somebody else, not by Hunter, because there's no telling what's going to end up in that hot sauce if that's the case.
These are not buffalo wings; they're unicorn wings. You're about to find out why. In an hour,
have some schnitzel and sauerkraut.
Almost as good on the way back up. Almost.
Oh, sauerkraut and high proof whiskey night. That actually sounds pretty good.
I'm down.
It always seems like a good idea when it starts.
Right.
It really does.
Yeah.
Kind of like tonight.
Right. And I didn't even get belligerently drunk tonight. Right. I feel like I was less offensive than I normally am, which I'm not, but I made up for it with the shirt. So, you know, just covering all my bases here. And also, fuck you, Jolie.
I missed hearing that.
Right. I can't see any comments. I don't know if she's still on or not, but just fuck her.
Oh, she's still lingering in there.
She's so,
there you go. That's
so mad because she doesn't have a day. And maybe we should give her a day, right? Just one loud, angry red day. Just one, right? Right. And just you know, we'll put her we'll put her on her face on a dick rocket.
What about February 29th?
I don't know any reason not to. You know, I would personally try to offend her by putting her birthday on somebody's birthday that she didn't like, right? So that she's forever associated with that person.
Maybe, well, maybe we should start. Anyone who is friends or follows Jolie, you should post on her wall starting tonight, all through tomorrow. Post pictures of Alan if you have pictures of Alan.
Alan, I know you've got some dance videos put together.
Oh yes,
maybe the time is nigh. Start releasing some of those.
I think this has to happen. This has to happen.
Jolie Day, National Jolie Day,
Jolie Dance Day,
National Angry Red Jolie Dance Day,
and we'll throw in videos of Andy lighting the donkey in between.
Yeah. Lighting the donkey is not a euphemism.
And for anybody that doesn't know what the donkey is,
yes,
it's this thing right here.
Yes.
It's about a 78 or 70 something gauge cigar.
Yeah, it's like an inch and a quarter across and 7 inches long. There's a way to light it and a way not to light it.
Right.
Face down with somebody holding your ears is not the way to light the cigar.
You're no longer friends. That's not true. That's not true.
We only do it because we love you, Red.
Right?
We're here
These
for
are life lessons. These are life lessons, right? This is what you get when every time somebody posts about Alan Bishop Day, you put the little roll your eye emoji. This is what happens. You should have learned from the first person that brought up Alan Bishop Day. Don't fuck with him. Don't fuck with him because he'll turn it around on you and he'll get other people involved and they'll make it even worse. They'll just make it worse. It's what I do. It's the only real talent I have other than distillation is let's go fuck with somebody.
If only you knew somebody in the Indiana State Legislature who could have a Jolie Kasperzak Day in Indiana.
Actually sanctioned.
Yes, an actual Jolie Kasperzak Day.
Announced in the legislature.
That's right. Just saying it's an idea.
That's funny shit. Is what that is. That's fucking hilarious.
Oh man.
God damn it.
All right. All right.
So what were we talking about tonight? What's the point of all
Absinthe?
this? Oh, absinthe, right.
It was, I believe it turned into just really a way of making fun of Jolie without her having any way of rebuttal, having a rebuttal to any of this other than in the comments, which
and Kevin comes in like the sniper he is, dropping his sarcasm.
I've been trying to behave about that shit. I haven't gone on a rant lately about that or anything. It's more like the way that herpes spreads, though, Kevin. Right? And it kind of comes and it goes, right? It just it's always with you. It's always with you. Even if you're not thinking about it, it'll pop back up.
Except there's
no
soundtracks for that. But
so I want to ask: are you experimenting with any fun spirits that you can talk about, Alan?
As Mike tries to get us back on the tracks.
Yes. So I have this really cool thing that we're calling the Whiskey Witch, which we came up with a name from the Whiskey Witch Nation, who we've done barrel picks with through Spirits of French Lick in the past. And the Whiskey Witch started off as there's a lot of things in the pipeline other than this, but this is the one I'm super excited about right now. It started off as we were going to call it a poachine, but now that's protected by Ireland as it rightfully should be. But it is very much based on what whiskey would have been in the British Isles prior to Scotch whiskey and Irish whiskey. So it's smoked malt, smoked with Indiana peat. It's also oats and wheat, all three of which were common grains in Ireland and Scotland at the time for distillation. There are no botanicals in it, although you will pick up on these sort of flavors that resemble some botanicals, which is really interesting because that early aqua vitae that was coming out of the British Isles, that early whiskey, was often infused post distillation with different botanicals, as well as with raisins to give it a little bit of a brandy like character. So we basically distilled this from wheat that was grown on the family farm in Martin County. We had Sugar Creek Malt Company provide us with the old pale ale malt that they had smoked with Indiana peat from up in northern Indiana. It does not resemble in any way the traditional peat that you would come across in Scottish whiskey. It doesn't have that creosote sort of characteristic. It has very fruity characteristics. We took that and we went into once used Copper and King's brandy barrels because, again, at that time, they were trying to really imitate brandy with their whiskeys because brandy was popular, but it was too expensive to afford. We were in those barrels for about 4 years. We pulled all that stuff down. We blended all the barrels together, went into a tank, aerated it for a few days, brought the proof down into, I think, the high 120s, and then split it up between New American Oak and used oak barrels. And what we were originally going to do was make a blend of those and put that out as a bulk product. But I think we've sold several of these as single barrels now, including to the Whiskey Witch Nation, as well as to Misano and a couple other guys there. And I think what we're going to do is this is going to be one of those things where we'll probably do a barrel or two of it out front, probably a new oak barrel and a used oak barrel because they are night and day from one another in their flavor profile. But the other barrels, they're going to be there sort of like incentive barrels for these accounts that have done a lot of business with us that want something very different. They'll have access to them, right? And, you know, I mean, they're obviously not going to all go out, you know, this year or immediately. So it'd be a couple of years that, you know, you can still get some age out of them before they came out. But it's a very different style of whiskey that people aren't used to. And the new oak is a lot more in common with bourbon. Obviously, there's more of those bourbon sort of nuances coming in from the barrel, and some of that almost botanical like influence, even though again there's no botanicals in there, is subdued a little bit. The used oak, on the other hand, because we went into once used Lee Sinclair barrels as well on this finishing part of things, has this very almost cardamom, coriander, lemongrass sort of thing, very bright. Whereas the new oak is a little more rounded. So I'm super excited to get some of that stuff out there. I have a Catawba Brandy that is now a little bit over 4 years old. Benjamin, I think you got to taste that when you were there at the distillery. Yeah. I believe we're going to try to get that out on Valentine's Day. There's 2 barrels of it. I'm not sure if they're going to be individual barrels or be blended. One's a toasted barrel, one's a charred barrel. And then Benjamin actually found a barrel that I forgot about when he was down at the distillery, a gin barrel that it's now 4+ years old. I had no idea it was back there. I don't know what kind of demand there is for barrel aged gin, but I think we'll do that as a gift shop only thing at Spirits of French Lick. So pretty excited about that.
I can tell you, you're going to make some kick-ass cocktails with that barrel aged gin. Mm-hmm. But I got to try those poaching as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
that's some of the most exciting stuff you got coming out of there.
I think so. I think that very much so, in my opinion, Benjamin and Mike, that represents more my style of distillation, mm-hmm. And more where I'm headed and want to head than anything else I've ever done in the past commercially. It's definitely more reflective of the things that I used to do at home when I was a home distiller, than it is reflective of the things that I've done at Spirits of French Lick. And I think it's exciting and it's fun because people are ready for that stuff now. If you tried to do that 3 or 4 years ago, people have been like, what the fuck is happening? And there's still going to be some people that have that reaction. But I think people have expanded their palates enough now, especially people that follow my work, that they're going to enjoy this quite a bit, you know. Yep. And it's going to have a really cool label. We're doing one of those old school, like the old you know, merchant sort of labels, where it's going to look almost like a blue heather construction paper type label, and it's going to have, instead of having a rune or anything on it, we're actually going to put a dowsing rod, but have it turned upwards where it looks like a rune. Very simple label, very clean label, just old school. You know, this is what it is. There's no we're not trying to push this. We're not trying to market this real hard. This is something special for those people and those accounts that have followed what we've done thus far. Right. And, won't be greatly widely available. And I don't think it should be. And I don't think it has to be. I don't think there's that huge of a market for it, but I think the people that will appreciate it, they're going to find it. You know, they're going to track it down. So, and then we also have the 4-year apple brandy, which should be going in a bottle here in a couple weeks. We were like everybody else having problems getting bottles. Same thing with the 5-year-old Solomon Scott Rye whiskey. You know, it's there. It's ready. It's just a matter of having the bottles to get it done.
I'm curious with you guys having experience, like a lot of people experiencing the bottle problems. Have you contemplated changing the bottles, or are you just gonna, or you not have a choice?
We've looked at it a little bit, and to be honest with you, I have not been that heavily involved in that conversation, because at this point, my focus at Spirits of French Lake is more on the production aspect of things and making sure that the quality control is there, the whiskey's there, that Dad and Steven are getting trained properly, that the equipment's being maintained and all that stuff. So sometimes I miss out on some of those other conversations. I think at one point they did discuss possibly looking at another bottle, but the problem is we already have labels, right? And those labels are specifically designed for the bottles that we have. So yeah, I wish I had a better answer on that, but I just don't. I don't really know where that's going to head. I think probably like everybody else, I have a sneaking suspicion that that's not going to get any better anytime soon.
Yeah.
You know, all things considered, Kevin, like that wouldn't bother me one way or the other. I'd be all about it if, you know, I'm sure there's some sort of stupid government regulation out there that keeps that from happening. But, you know, ironically, we just finished up a distillers talk where we had a conversation very similar to this. The amount of wasted glass in this country and the fact that we can't get bottles right now, right? Everybody wants all the consumers want to talk about their distilleries and their wineries being sustainable and their breweries being sustainable, but nobody brings up that glass question, right? Yep. At the very least, why there's not a wider recycling of what those glass bottles are, or as my guest on Distillers Talk talked about today, you know, it's not necessary to make a bottle that weighs, you know, 700 grams when you can get away with 500 grams. You know, that's that. If you want to talk real sustainability, now you're talking real sustainability, and it's an issue right now, honestly. You know, if this continues, how long out are you until your single barrel just gets shipped the way that it used to back in the day down to the liquor stores, and they find some sort of loophole to actually set the barrel up and bottle right out of the barrel at the liquor store into whatever bottle that you bring in, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to remember, Mike, our conversation with Ollie from Great Wagon Road. Didn't he have something like if you bring in an empty bottle, then they would
yes,
refill,
yeah,
refill a new
Ollie
one
was
for you
doing
or something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Ollie was doing
That's
that.
awesome.
I wish I knew the rules of it, because, you know,
Right.
I'm not going to speculate that the government is potentially corrupt or in any way corrupt or in it for themselves. However, I can walk down the street right now to the liquor store down the street with a growler and I can fill up beer.
Yeah.
I've got 3 growlers right here. I can go down and I can fill up all 3 growlers right now from beer in the liquor store. That same liquor store does single barrel picks, but they are bottled and they are brought in through a distributor. Now, I'm not saying that there's any problem with distributors, but there seems to be a huge disconnect between satisfying a consumer and being able to make the most money for a distillery and a liquor store. And I don't know what that disconnect is in between the two, but I would think that if you were able to take in, if you could buy a single barrel of whiskey, why can't you have that single barrel of whiskey and fill it on premises?
Well, and here's the fun and all that too, right? So everybody's going to have some regulation they throw out for why you can't do this. Okay, right? Who cares? We're clearly in a whole new world at this point. And again, I don't see it getting any better. All that red tape, that's just logistics. At some point in this country, we're going to have to figure out how to do business a different way. And some of those logistics are going to have to change. And I agree with you 100%, Mike. If that, as far as the federal government's concerned, here's what I would think. Now, there's probably local fire codes and all that stuff to take into account. But if the tax is paid on that barrel, all right, and as long as you, as the liquor store, collects a sales tax, I can't see that the federal government or the state excise anywhere is going to give a shit one way or the other, right?
Yeah. Right.
You know, and as far as, you know, the dangers of using a reused bottle or whatever, how's that any different than, you know, some of the home processed food laws that they have now, you know, where it's a waiver, you know?
Yeah. You would be taking,
it's on you.
you'd be taking that risk on yourself to bring that bottle into that store to fill it. It's not like it's going to touch the spigot. There's going to be a gap on there, but you could charge more for that liquor by filling it yourself, which could be more taxes for the United States government.
See, now we're doing shit here. This is what Alan Bishop Day is all about. This is what it's all about. Solving the fucking world's problems and putting shocker rockets into space. We could even fund NASA to do a shocker rocket that way, guys. Just saying, man. Right? Yeah. They can't even get a rocket into space at this fucking point.
Jeff Bezos would never do that, but Elon Musk would definitely put a shocker rocket into space.
Fuck yeah, he would. Fuck yeah, he would. I know. I talked to him earlier. I mean, this has been discussed.
Yeah. Adina, I want to say something, but I'm not going to say something. But that's just not cool.
Yeah. That hits Mike in a very, very sore place.
Everybody else in Three Boys was doing a great job, but that one dumbass, that one guy, he was like your stupid friend at a barbecue who was pissing on everybody's feet while standing in a circle. He was just bad.
Show me on the stall where the spilled whiskey hurt you.
His last name Henderson. Did he own a haberdashery and mercantile? See what I did there? Mercantile. That should be a thing. Right? That should be a word, right?
It should be a word. Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm sure the guy drove a Camaro. That's in my mind. That's his deal. He drove a new Camaro, not an old Camaro. He drove a new Camaro.
Lived in a camper van.
Yeah.
But new Camaro. Yes. A lot of Axe body spray going on there probably too.
Yep. Had anger management classes 3 nights a week. The whole deal. Listens to Savage Garden.
Ex-cop. By ex-cop, I mean former security guard.
Yeah. 4 ex-wives.
5 ex-children, none of which are actually his. Yes. Yes. Wow.
Oh, man.
Tribal tats.
Definitely owns a parking lot circus.
Yeah. Definitely tribal tat. Probably an ankle tattoo also.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's a lot of blending at that travel circus.
Yep. The whitest tennis shoes you've ever seen in your life.
But not good ones, like the old school, like 80s New Balance.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The dad style.
Not tied. Not tied at all.
With the short socks and the high pants.
Yep.
Used to have a rat tail and is waiting for that to come back into style.
He's getting psyched because he's seen a lot of people with mullets.
Yes.
He's waiting for that evolution to the next step.
Where's a stainless steel pinky ring?
That's funny because I was about to go with all kinds of extra jewelry.
Yeah.
Yes. Has an uncle with a strange name like Zeph.
Yeah. Has seen every Adam Sandler movie 20 times.
Fucking loves Hubie Halloween. Loves it.
And Joe Dirt.
Yes. Waiting for the reboot of the Pee Wee Herman movies.
Yeah. Joe Dirt's a documentary.
Yes. I know that guy. Works at the casino in French Lick. True story. Has a very androgynous girlfriend sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And say Emily, just like Kevin, just waits and strikes.
Right. Which is funny you say androgynous because I've just introduced my oldest to the SNL skit Pat this week.
Fantastic.
I had never seen that before.
So. Okay, have you seen the movie?
No, I cannot. I mean, 3 minutes of a skit was one thing, but to sit there and watch a whole freaking movie of that, I don't know. Goes an hour and a half of that. I mean,
I'm glad I watched it. I don't know that I could watch it again, but I think it was worth watching it because it was. It tried to do a payoff. I don't want to revisit it ever again, especially the ending of there's something with the end that how they left the ending of the movie. It's like, I don't want to know what happened. I just don't want to know what happened.
I'm clearly not that invested. I don't care.
Yeah.
Alan Bishop hasn't watched. I think that was the point, Kimberly. I'm pretty sure that was entirely the point. I think she's going to come in here and donkey punch me. So she's going to walk up right now. I'm not even going to fucking see her.
We're going to see the crack of that door, and then also we're going to see Alan's forehead smack the screen right here, and it's over.
Told you.
It's kind of like, I don't know. For me, Pat, the movie Pat is kind of like the Ladies' Man. The skits were phenomenal, and then the movie came on, and the movie was funny, but it just wasn't on the same level as what the skits were on SNL. And so when Pat came out and I saw that, it's like, man, I laugh with those skits. I don't want to ruin it in any kind of way.
It's not, you know what? My recollection, it's not funny. It's kind of, it's just on the border where it's amusing, but it's not funny, where at least with a bad Ladies' Man movie, you can still pull some stuff out and laugh about it.
Right.
But no, it's just, there was no humor involved at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of like that
that's sandwich.
Even that second tier of Adam Sandler movies, which is even worse. Like, who thought it was a good idea to keep giving Rob Schneider a contract? Right.
Okay, I have to say this. I went to see the first Deuce Bigalow in the theater. A friend of mine and I, we played hooky, went in the afternoon to go see Deuce Bigalow, and I don't know what it was about it, but we laughed so stinking hard at that movie, especially certain parts more than others. Yeah. But I've watched it since then. It's not as funny as I remember it, but about the only thing that really stands out, I mean, other than obviously the lady with the big ass feet, but Amy Poehler with Tourette's is still, that part's still funny. I don't think it's not going to be funny ever, but I don't think it holds up as well as it could.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's just, making sure that your friends get a paycheck, right?
That's about 80% of Adam Sandler movies, maybe 90%.
Yeah.
It's
true.
Which is honestly part of what makes Hubie Halloween work to the degree that it does, because
Absolutely.
It's like every trope from every Sandler movie and every person that's ever been in there with him is all just thrown in there into one big Halloween mash.
Yep. All right, so I'll ask, I find Adam Sandler to be kind of polarizing. Some of the movies are just beyond dumb. They really make me feel dumber as a human being watching it. But what is your favorite one? I mean, I'll say my favorite one of his that I've seen, I'd have to say, is Billy Madison.
That's a good one. There was one I think it was one of the Netflix ones that he did with Spade. What was it, like the Do-Over or something like that? That one, I actually like that one quite a bit. That one was pretty good.
Yeah, Billy Madison would be my number one.
Yeah. Have you guys seen, and it's stupid too, but The Wrong Missy, the David Spade movie? Have you guys seen that one?
No.
It's worth watching. You need to watch it. You need to go watch that one for sure. Yeah. No, I'm not above buying into a Sandler movie, right? I mean, I also think he's an easy target to make fun of, but right. I also suspect that he would send a shocker rocket up in space. He'd also write a fucking song about it, right? I mean, that might be our best opportunity yet to get a shocker rocket in it. Now, maybe make it his own thing. I don't care. Everybody would know, right? It's fine.
But would you want to hear them sing it?
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I would take Adam Sandler singing the Shocker Rocket song over top of fucking Mellencamp. Just gonna let you know right now.
Yeah, and Happy Gilmore, I agree. Happy Gilmore, very funny.
Right.
I really like it. I just think there's something about Billy Madison that it's every character in there had a purpose. Even just the dumbest things on there, everyone paid in there or paid off. And
right.
Yeah, there was just parts, but yes, Happy Gilmore though, I think is Bob Barker alone makes the entire movie.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry I ruined your show.
Damn you, Scuba Steve.
Yeah. 50 First Dates, it's cute. I'll say that one too.
Yeah, that one's
okay. It's a cute movie, but it also has Drew Barrymore, so whatever. Maybe
what's the Sandler movie with the two kids where he keeps telling fairy tales or whatever and they keep coming true? You know the one I'm talking
Click?
about? Maybe?
No, Click's the one where he has the remote control and he can like fast forward through life.
So it's like he's watching his sister's kids or something, and every night he tells them like a fairy tale or something, and the next day parts of it come true or some crap. He's working at a hotel.
Pretty sure you made this one up, Benjamin.
No, I'm pretty sure I will find it, and then I will show you guys.
This is a made up thing. This is not real. Right. This is a figment of your imagination.
Fuck you. Here we go.
Nope, forgot to close the Pornhub page. Damn it.
Not quite.
Would Adam Sandler drink absinthe?
Yeah. I don't see why not, right? Maybe. This is a good question. I think he would. I think he'd still be down the party, right? Especially when he realized that there was not really much of a hangover associated with it. What I would find more interesting is hanging out and drinking absinthe with Jim Brewer.
That actually would be a lot of fun.
Yes. We need Jim Brewer at Shocker Palooza too. I don't know what he costs to get on stage, but we need to get him.
Bedtime Stories came out in 2008.
Bedtime Stories. All right.
You're literally the only person that watched it.
Maybe. It's still funny, and it's still classic. It's classic Adam Sandler.
Fair enough. I'll have to check that one out at some point. So here's a question for you. We'll wrap up the evening here, I think, on this side, but this will be fun, and you'll enjoy this. And I hope Jolie's still watching. So in a movie about Jolie's life, who plays Jolie? Doesn't have to be a chick either. Just throwing that out there, right?
Wow. Okay.
There's somebody just going through the motions, right? Who would you like to see? What famous actor or actress would you like to see on a Jolie rant? I've got mine right now. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there because nobody's going to beat it.
Do it.
Gary fucking Busey. Gary Busey is fucking Jolie Casper's act.
Okay,
I'm watching that fucking movie.
But is it Gary Busey when he's doing his acronyms?
Sure. Gary Busey at post after he was fucked up is perfect. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Even dye his hair red, right? Doesn't have to grow it out or anything. Just red hair. Some dangly ass earrings going on.
So I've got one. This is taking a little bit more serious, but it's actually I think she could do a really good portrayal of Jolie, and that's what's her name? Kelly Riley. If you've watched Yellowstone, she plays Beth.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, she's got the mouth and the sass and the attitude and the red hair.
Mike is really thinking this one through.
I am, because I mean, they're.
What's going to be curious to see with you though, Mike, is whether or not you go the serious route or are you going towards the how much of a rib can I make this route?
That's
no,
exactly
I mean,
what
I had an obvious one that was just that, but it actually, now that I think about it, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I need a second here. I got to think about this. So I love her dearly, but you know, Christopher Walken.
And I just watched Sleepy Hollow this past week. So Christopher Walken is the Headless Horseman. Just that same get up, just with the red hair instead.
Who's playing Andy in this whole thing? Right? I'm going full on wrestler into movie acting here, and I'm going to go with Kurt Angle just for shits and giggles. You're gonna make it weird, make it real weird. Gary Busey and Kurt Angle is Andy and fucking Jolie. Fucking, can you imagine the scene with fucking Kurt Angle and the fucking donkey? Tell me you wouldn't fucking watch that, and then you'd have to like intersperse like a little clip of Kurt Angle's fucking theme music, right? As he's trying to light the fucking donkey. My job here is fucking done.
I'm trying not to completely lose it here, but oh my god!
I mean, honestly, Andy, I think Chris Pratt would be a good Andy.
Yes, I agree.
But
that'd be a brilliant Andy.
Chris Pratt before he got into the Marvel universe.
Yes, he has an exact right attitude to do that. Yes. Although now every time Andy's around and he goes light a cigar, I'm totally playing the fucking Kurt Angle theme music every time.
All right. I'm thinking about my
you still have a name.
I'm thinking about my Jolie thing. I know. I got there's a couple ideas. I mean, the one that I thought of, which I know will just Sarah Silverman. I think she could be a good Jolie.
Yes. Moment of silence here. Yes. Yeah. Just let that play out a little.
All right.
Yeah.
My experiences being out with Andy, if he were still alive, and it's not because of looks necessarily, it's just the whole persona and the action and everything, but Chris Farley for Andy.
Right? I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
Yeah. If he were still around.
Yeah.
Damn it, Farley.
Well,
Andy could definitely be one of the Murray brothers.
I'm going to cast myself in the movie as well, and it's also someone who's dead, right? But I got to go with fucking Sam Kinison, right? Because I'd watch the fuck out of that movie now. Now you got Kurt Angle, you got Sam Kinison, you got fucking Gary Busey. I'm just telling you.
Where does Eddie Murphy make a cameo in that?
All right. I'm just curious though. This movie is this one of those Lifetime made for TV movies?
Or it is. It's like a Christmas movie.
We're talking TNT or Hallmark Channel, because there's a difference between them.
I'm thinking like those 90s TNT movies. Yeah, let's go there. Right. Yeah. Right. The ones with guys that used to be famous, like Jean-Claude Van Damme in movie you've never heard of, 22. Tonight on TNT, 8:00 with limited commercial interruptions.
Bruce Campbell playing Kevin Rose.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
All right, let's take it another step. Who's playing Who's playing Patrick, Mike, and myself?
Patrick is for sure fucking Sheamus, another wrestler coming in there, right? Right.
You're a ginger shamer.
Ooh, let's see. Just because of what was discussed earlier, I'm going Rob Schneider with Mike. It's gonna be fucking great. And I'm gonna go David Spade with Benji. Actually, that's where I'm gonna go.
All right.
It's gonna be fucking amazing. Oscar, not Oscar winning, but definitely Oscar nominated.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. Oscar losing.
It'll be the Tropic
Like
Thunder of
losing.
YouTube videos.
The reviews will literally read things like "so bad it was almost good." Contextually interesting.
I thought about laughing, but I
They
didn't.
almost did something.
Tim said Ben is the Undertaker and I am mankind. I will take that. I will be Mick Foley any day of the week. Mick Foley is fucking cool.
I'm pretty sure Mick Foley plays my dad in that movie, though, right? There's a little, right? Little.
Okay, but wait a minute. If he were still alive, how cool would it be to have Dusty Rhodes play your dad? He's got the hair.
Yeah. We've got to make sure that fucking somehow Mick Foley gets one of those fucking Old Dale Bishop t-shirts, because this has got to be a thing. Because you can. You should. Not as trashy as the real thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
Jolie's.
The fact we have gone this long and still hung on to as many viewers as we have, I'm really proud of tonight.
I'm afraid to even know because I can't see any of that stuff from over here. But I apologize immensely with the repercussions of the reputation that I will have caused all of you. Also, fuck you, Julie.
Yeah.
I think our reputation stays intact.
Yeah, Jolie said that Alan is played by Bobcat Goldthwait. Okay, Bobcat came up.
I'll take that.
Yeah, Bobcat came up a lot when I was in Kentucky the last time because we were talking about his movies. Yep. If you haven't seen Bobcat's movies, you have got to see Bobcat's movies.
Did you just hear my wife laugh from 2 rooms away? Like she fucking cackled like a madman just now. Legitimately.
Yeah. But Bobcat's movies are 100% worth seeing. Start early, work your way up. They're fantastic. Just the premise of all of them, because there's always the things like, well, how far can you take this? And there's one movie of what is a secret that is so bad that you could never share with anybody? And then he like just takes it not to the next level, but he goes 10 levels beyond that of what that secret possibly could be. But it's a good movie. It's a very good movie.
Goes super meta. Yeah, that's fucking cool. Yeah. I've listened to him do a few interviews on Rogan and a couple other places, and they're always good interviews. And of course, I fucking love him. And obviously that's not really who he is, but I love Police Academy, right? Yeah. Who the fuck can't love the Police Academy series? It's still fucking great to this day. You know what? Fuck that biographical movie. Just let's go ahead and remake Police Academy. Surely to God you can buy the rights for that fucking cheap, and we'll just put everybody from fucking Shockerpalooza and fucking Police Academy and run with it.
I actually watched that first movie. It was on this last weekend or weekend before, and I had not seen that in forever. And it was it holds up. It's just good, dumb, fun humor.
Yep. Even in the sequels up to point, up to like the third one, or even to some extent the fourth one, like the Blue Oyster Club continuously being the fucking thing, right? Like it's just one of those jokes that you can't at some point you can't not make that fucking joke, right?
Yeah.
You have to do it every time, and it doesn't. To me, it never comes off as it's that again. It's funny every fucking time I see it. Every time. Yeah.
Police Academy meets New Pekin, Indiana.
Peckin.
Peckin Police Academy.
Peckin Police Academy. That's right.
New Peckin Police Academy and the Mud Turtle Mystery. Mud Fossil Mystery.
Mud Fossil.
Yeah.
So who's playing Amsy losing?
Amsy losing is going to be Hightower.
That
Actually, that's Hunter. Hunter would be Hightower. There you go. We've got that.
That's a good
covered.
right. That's a good one right there. I was
make
Bobcat. Bobcat wouldn't be a bad character for Amzie right there either.
Yeah, I could see that. You know, if Bobcat had a beard, he'd look nothing like Amzie, but it'd still be fucking fun.
Yeah.
All right. Anywhere else weird you guys want to go before we can completely just destroy your audience?
I think we've done a fair amount of damage.
Okay.
There's all kinds of weird places left to go, but
there's lots.
We can say that for another night.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll wait till I actually get drunk again, and then we'll do it. So that the next morning I can be weird about it and be like, did I say some shit that I shouldn't have? Because I feel like I said some shit I shouldn't have.
You got a few weeks till Bourbon Turntable, and you can come on and destroy our show there. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I really like what you guys are doing with that, and for anybody that's been on here tonight that hasn't listened to that, you're definitely missing out. It's a cool concept, and it's enjoyable. The only shows I listen to, guys, I'll jump on your all show, even if I'm just trolling, but a lot of times legitimately because you have people on that I want to hear you guys talk to on here. And then I'll jump on Jack's thing. Monday sucks, here and there. But otherwise, Bourbon Turntable is the only thing really industry related that I listen to otherwise, because I get so much of the distilling industry anyways that I don't want to,
Right.
I just fucking don't. But if you can bring music or something cool like that into it, then I'm 100% about it. I've even unsubscribed from like all the industry news fucking emails because I just fuck you. I don't want it. I don't care. None of that affects me in any fucking way, shape, or form. So,
yeah,
we're having a lot of fun with that one too, and I think we're just laying some groundwork to really go a lot deeper and a lot further like we want to with it. So
you missed the opportunity to say laying the pipe to go a lot deeper. I just wanted. Throwing that out there, never let a good pun go, ever.
So while we're throwing plugs in for the two people that don't know, there's a lot of releases coming out from Spirits of French Lick. A lot of good things coming up in the next 6 months to a year. Also, if you want to get more Alan, and who does not want more Alan, Distiller's Talk, which is it's a really, really good show.
Yep.
It's very candid. It's very much open conversation with distillers and other people in the industry, where it's great. It's like their guards are down. They're talking about what they want to talk about. So Distiller's Talk, which comes out every Thursday. Please check that out. If you haven't, go back, look at the back catalog. There's a lot of really fantastic shows coming up on that. And a lot of them that have already been done. Bourbon Turntable on Wednesdays.
Just be ready. Yeah. The Halloween show got deep. So when that one releases, you guys, we got.
And Bourbon Turntable is going to be live on Alan Bishop Day, correct?
Yep. That's right.
First time in history.
20th. Yep. Our first live show, and we've got the Alan Bishop for Alan Bishop Day.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
You get Alan Bishop live. It just depends on how much I've been drinking and who I'm mad at. How angry am I?
And we don't have, as far as My Whiskey Den, we don't have distillers scheduled through October. So it's us doing good and or funny and or dumb shit on Monday nights live.
I was really wondering how I got back on the show that quick, and now I understand. Thank you, Mike.
Well, I mean, and we've got a couple people that are waiting to reschedule, and we'll see how that plays out. But I mean, we've honestly we keep sending samples to each other that we don't go through. So we've got 50 samples to go through that we need to do some sample kill nights.
That's just
some
the
other
tip,
theme
Mike.
nights, and it's just the tip. Yeah. We are in just the tip of October. We
could go double fisted with samples and not get through those by the end of the year.
We could.
Really got to get in
October.
there.
Mm-hmm.
We will be full shaft in October if we wait till the end of the month. But we'll
just fucking fall deep into October, just all the way.
We will get there.
Yep,
all the way in there. I mean, by Halloween, it should be like a stuffed pinata.
And stuffed pinata. Look that up on Urban Dictionary. I'm sure it's on there.
Hashtag GBG.
Yes, and be sure to also look. Listen, nobody else outside the group knows that, but you also can't tell me I was fucking wrong, because there was for sure some weird shit going on over there. Just
you're not wrong, but
I never saw somebody's head turn so fucking fast and not look disgusted in my entire life as I did that night. I just as soon as it was said, I'm fucking in. I'm in right here. Yeah. This right here. Get it.
Yep.
Shit got weird.
GBG.
it was a good. That was a good night. I would not give it up for anything.
Mm-mm.
Vampire bars.
Yep.
Fuck.
Our block on the street.
Yeah.
all the passers-by.
Oh, I gotta tell you, my phone's just about to die. I'm gonna throw this out there real quick.
All right.
So remember how we had to move the seat out of the back, Penny's seat out of the back of the car and everything, right? To get everybody in. I forgot we did that. Kim hadn't been in the car for like a week. We went to go somewhere with Penny, and she goes, "Where the fuck is the car seat?" And I'm like, somebody surely didn't steal the fucking car seat, right? And we were freaking out for like 5 minutes. I was like, wait a minute. I vaguely remember that maybe we could in the top.
Yeah, I might have asked, hey, Alan, can we throw this back here? Yeah.
Andy needs a place to sit.
So therefore, Andy and Red could take us 30 minutes out of the way to the wrong hotel.
Yeah.
And then turn around and go 30 minutes back the other way to end up 2 blocks from where we originally started to get them to the hotel. But
if they ever quit their jobs, they will go work for a taxi company so they can rake you over the coals on their fares to get you from one destination to the other.
If Andy or Red show up in a Lyft or an Uber, just wave them on by.
I'll talk to you later. Yeah.
It was not 10 minutes, Red. It was not 10 minutes.
It was not 10 minutes.
That was 30 minutes.
That is crap. You have no sense of time. It was way off.
Yep.
Yeah. Jokingly, we said, I bet we're going to go right back to where we started. Guess what? Yeah. But again, wouldn't have given up any of that for anything. That was a good night. So
Purgatory in the back of Alan's car, but
yeah, vampires and all. I think Alan's phone froze up.
I think we've lost Alan. So
we have lost Alan.
If he gets back on, yeah.
Oh man.
All right.
Yeah.
But what a great time.
It was a good time. It was as I had expected that it would go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good time, good people. Finishing up with some Fascination Street in my old Crow glass.
That's what I was on. I've been through 4 different absinthe tonight, so it's fantastic stuff.
Try.
Maybe Kimberly pulled the plug.
I'm glad. I'm glad he said there's another iteration of Fascination Street coming out.
Yep.
That has been a real eye opener to everybody I've shared it with. Yep. If you can go on Key West Trading Company, get Death in the Afternoon. I'm only saying these because Alan was involved in both of these.
Right. And they're going to have that amethyst version coming out.
Yeah, that amethyst one looks. I mean, for nothing. I mean, how sexy is this bottle? I mean, good God, that is so cool looking.
And the label for the amethyst is just as kick-ass as that one is. So
yeah, pretty damn good. It was a fun night.
Alan's original Le Bleu, which is become my standard go-to absinthe, typically. So the Fascination Street, I will throw this out for you mixologists out there, love cocktails. That Fascination Street, instead of like if you make a Sazerac, instead of misting your glass with absinthe like you typically do, substitute about a half ounce of the Fascination Street in your Sazerac and watch that take it to the whole nother level. But using that one in a lot of cocktails, and it's been absolutely killer. So
yeah, it's good stuff. And there's
let alone just sipping on the rocks. It's freaking fantastic. So
yeah, it is. It's extremely enjoyable. And for people that don't like absinthe and want to get into it, I think it's a great gateway.
Right. So Alan's stuff. Speaking of craft, I got a few that I was working through here. Alan's that we've shown you. If you can find the absinthe from Leopold Brothers, that one is absolutely brilliant. I love what Todd is doing with his absinthe there. Going overseas, you'll find this one a lot at Total Wine, but it's La Clandestine. It's a Swiss Le Bleu absinthe, and that one is freaking brilliant. If you're looking to get towards, get into where absinthe originated at, kind of a good starting point, that's a freaking great absinthe. Usually not too difficult to find. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's also some not so good stuff out there. One of the things Alan and I had a conversation about as we sampled through absinthe was either it's usually really good or it's really bad, and there's not a lot of in between. So
yeah. And also, before I forget, Pat was feeling pretty under the weather. Got the crud running through his house, so hopefully Pat's feeling better. I think he jumped in the chat a couple times, but Pat, I hope you're still I hope you're not still awake. I hope you're asleep and catching up on all the sleep you need to get in, and hope he feels better.
Get well, friend. So
yeah. And the absinthe is kicking in.
By kicking in, you mean you don't feel it at all? Because I don't feel anything yet.
Oh no, it's kicking in.
Yeah. All right.
My speech patterns are slowing down.
So we should say our goodbyes.
Or not.
We could just let's just. How long can we go in here? 6 hours? What is this?
Let's do a marathon. Yeah. No, we're not going to do a marathon. I got to go to bed.
Yeah. You people have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Some of you people anyway.
Some people. Yeah. Yeah. And as Bourbon Turntable, Kevin mentioned the right way, which you can't get. Anyway.
No, but
had some bottles.
I was going to say you can still pick up some Fascination Street.
Yes.
At the distillery. I know it's available there because I just got mine not long ago. So swing by French Lick.
Absolutely.
But the right way. Yeah, unfortunately.
Missed out on our bottles.
Right. Yeah.
They were put aside by somebody who's very nice and very special to us. But then somebody did something with those bottles after that person no longer worked there. So I was not vetted, apparently.
Got to be vetted, Mike.
I was not vetted. So that's that. Anyway.
Right.
But anyway, I don't know what we have coming up for sure. We haven't fully decided. We do have a lot of sample kills that need to happen.
Yep.
We've got just some other gatherings that need to happen. I know
we have discussed a big Texas month possibly for November. I've got to get some people put together for that, but we've got potentially a lot of good distillers that could come on for that. So we'll get that nailed down and see where that rolls into the year, hitting December, and we got to start having some big conversations about our whiskeys of the year.
Yes,
things like that. So.
And Matt, I did see the Stumpy's expansion was approved.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. Thank God heads were removed from asses to make that happen. Because that was ridiculous. Stumpy's, if you're in the area, you can get it, go buy that damn whiskey. Holy crap. Their whiskey is good. Their gin's good. And how nice is Adam? I mean, Adam was just an absolute super nice guy. Great place to go visit. Yeah, it's good news for them. Good news for other distilleries too, who if they get into a similar situation, maybe that can help them get through that. If there's how shall we say roadblocks in the way. So anyway,
and for all you people hanging on that need a good caffeine boost, Stave and Bean coffee, order you some freaking beans because they're absolutely fantastic.
We're doing all
and word on the street. Yeah. Plugging away. Plugging away. Plug. Anyway, word on the street is the tea may be the next thing that they're getting into, barrel-aged tea. So for all you tea lovers that prefer that over coffee, be on the lookout. That could be coming soon. But in the meantime, Stave and Bean, they're barrel-aged, single-origin coffee beans that are roasted to perfection, that are just absolutely freaking fantastic. Go visit the website, Stave and Bean. Find them on Facebook. Find them on Instagram. You know what to do. Get the beans.
Yeah, it is good. I bought mine, so there was no under the table shenanigans going on there. I got the Manhattan, and I can't remember the other one that I got. The Manhattan, I've hit quite a bit. It's
is
really
the aroma
good.
Is the aroma not freaking amazing on that stuff? Like when you grind those beans, it fills the house, man.
If that could be a candle,
right?
Honestly, if that could be a candle that you light and have going through your house, holy crap, is that amazing?
I can't tell you how many times I've been working up and grinding some beans, fixing an espresso, and my wife walks in, and this first thing I was just like, "Oh my God, I smell the coffee," because it's just amazing, and that Manhattan is fantastic. I got the Brazilian extra aged. Those are freaking phenomenal. The notes of chocolate that I get off of those beans are amazing. So we're getting ready to put our second order in, and we'll let you know what we pick up and what we'll be tasting on that. So I can't wait to sit down and figure out what the next ones are that I'm gonna try. Maybe the sidecar, maybe go with the Peerless Rye barrel. I don't know. We'll see.
And hopefully we'll have John and or Corey on, so we can talk about that. That'd be another fun night. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I relish my private time of reflection.
There you go.
As we all should.
While you're watching your ass get beat in fantasy football.
Hey, I won this week, by the way.
Did you? You finally got a win. All right.
I finally got a win.
I was losing.
Amzie and I both won for the first time. So we were good. And honestly,
I did not need to hear that because
Amzie was playing you, wasn't he? Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
This is a plug, it's an unnecessary plug. But I got caught up on. Are you really?
Yep.
I got caught up on
99.2 to 99.1.
Oh, holy crap! I'm gonna have to look at that.
It's that close.
For the probably two people who haven't watched it, watch Ted Lasso. Mm-hmm. Damn, that is a good show. That is. I have feelings for that show. it's really well done. Enjoy watching it. So yeah, definitely watch Ted Lasso.
I'm one of the two people who probably hasn't watched it yet. I'm on Yellowstone right now and getting blown away by that show. Holy crap. But,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to get on Ted Lasso.
I've been doing like one thing at a time, catching up. I'm really bad about streaming stuff. But I started on Ted. It's like, it's just it's fun to watch a show that makes you feel good.
Yep.
And it honestly really does. There's a lot of really good stuff about it. That's like, damn, it just makes me feel good to watch that. And then I'll turn around and I'll watch something else that's gross. But it all balances out.
Speaking of gross, if anybody is I believe it's on Amazon Prime, there's a series called Lore. And it's done by one of the X-Files producers and somebody else. And it's a little bit on the documentary side, but they dig into some really interesting, weird crazy stuff and put together a nice production on that. Being in the Halloween season, it kind of fits right in there. If you want to get creeped out, you want to get creeped out by, the whole thing about reality is stranger than fiction, Lore on Prime. That'll take you right there.
Okay. Sounds good to me. All right. Yeah. Jolie, love you too. I'm going to be going to bed here shortly. It's been a long, stupid day.
Hey, you had a wonderful day at work, didn't you?
Oh, God.
Well, at least you got to enjoy some good absinthe.
I did. I got to have some. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
There you go. Yeah, it looks like I'm depriving of Amzi of his first victory, fantasy football. It looked like he was going to surely beat me, but Monday night, I've come roaring back. So with that,
so that puts him in last place.
It does. And I am solely in first place.
Oh, well.
Life is good. It's good.
Yeah. We're doing for those that don't know, we're doing fantasy with actually everybody that's in fantasy has been on the show.
Yeah.
So, except for one, my son's in the fantasy group.
Should get him on the show sometime.
Oh God, I don't think he would do it. He'd probably be like, whatever. But no, I've been I've had scored good points, but no victories. And then this week finally had a victory, and I thought Amzi, who was the other person with no victories, was going to come through. But yeah, it looks like Ben had a good night. I'll have to check that out and see how bad the beating is. But
it just keeps it was 99.2 to 99.1. Now I'm 101.1 to 99.1. So the margin is
yeah. Man. Oh,
and you're right, Kevin. I was on auto pick because I was traveling from Colorado.
Yeah.
I've made a few little changes here, but overall I was very happy with the auto pick.
Yeah, auto pick did you well.
It did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. And the problem with fantasy, I like it's fun. The problem with it is I find myself cheering more for my fantasy team than just watching the game, just trying to enjoy it.
Right.
Which that's the downside, but it's all fun. So anyway, we'll see how it all plays out.
Fun in sports, you had a pretty good experience with your daughter at the baseball park.
I did. Yeah. She got to, obviously in Kansas City, she's a fan of, obviously likes the Royals, but Alex Gordon was her favorite player. He retired last year. We were walking around. She was real antsy. And she was like, let's go walk. I'm like, let's wait till the end of the first inning. Let's just wait for that much. So because we waited for the end of the first inning, we just took off, started walking, and Alex just cut right across my path. I go, well, there you go. There's your favorite baseball player. And we walked, near him for a while, not on purpose, hung out, watching the game from some other spots. And they came around this one area and he was there, and she doesn't get excited about a lot of stuff, doesn't get nervous about a lot of stuff, but she was just like, I want his autograph. and so she finally, when she got up enough nerve, she took off her coat and everything and went over there and got him to sign her jersey. And I did say, hey, here's your one chance to tell him he's your favorite player. And so she did. So
nice.
So now she can't, according to her, she can't wash that jersey. So she's going to frame the jersey he signed with her actual Alex Gordon jersey.
Awesome.
And he was super nice. She had a good time. It's a great ballpark to visit. Even if you're not a baseball fan, it's a great ballpark to visit. A lot of good activities. And it's easy to get in. Hopefully things will change with the world later because one of our big pastimes was you could take in your own food to a Royals game. And when you're taking your kids to a game, that's really important. When you can walk in with barbecue or some Jimmy John sandwiches and sit in the stands and eat your own food, that's a huge bonus. So anyway.
Nice.
All
Aaron
right.
Hardiman, Glen Allachie, Roja wine finish. That sounds freaking fantastic. So
it sounds good.
Yep.
All right.
With that,
I'm gonna have to go to bed. And thank you all for watching. And always thank you, Emily. We love you dearly.
Yep.
Thanks for sticking around and keeping us in line, and everybody else.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
I'm not doing a bottle slam.
Yeah, I think we're past that tonight. We'll get that next time.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Good night, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.